Hello and welcome to episode 184 of the Ram Nintendo podcast. I'm Jason.
And I'm Angel.
And what a weirdly busy time it's been in the world of Nintendo these past couple of weeks. Like, we know I had one but two indie presentations from Nintendo. We had Gamescom.
You heard that right, people.
Not one, two. Two whole. We also had Gamescom in Europe. We had a keynote from Shigeru Miyamoto at Japan's CDEC conference, all about mobile gaming. Then we had a Nintendo Direct about Dragalia Lost. And now it's PAX West. Yeah, it's like E3. It's like Diet E3.
Not to mention just a bunch of announcements sprinkled throughout the week. It was
really busy, weirdly. Like, usually this is a dead period. But here we are with a lot of stuff. And I mean, the bulk of it has already been news and announcements out of the indie scene specifically. So we're going to dedicate a good chunk of the episode to discussing that Onslaught specifically. Hence the episode title of Indie Onslaught. We're also going to be taking some time to discuss all the other news, of course. We're even going to throw in a Jason Sales Corner before sandwiching the episode with more indies at the end with impressions of Treadnauts, which both of us have played, but you more than I. So yeah, given how much there is, given how many games we're likely going to bring up, now more than ever, timestamps over at randomnintendo.com on the blog post for this episode will probably come in handy if you want to jump around. Likewise, if you're on YouTube, under this video, on our YouTube channel of randomnintendo.com, we have links, or timestamps that you can actually click as links and
really
to that part of the video. It's the future, and I encourage all of you to hop on board that train to the future.
Do you remember when that feature got rolled out?
It's been a while.
It's been at least
a few years.
4 years at least.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's a lot of games. The bulk of it you would think would be just because PAX, they always have this, but there were 37 games announced through the two Nintendo videos, Indie Highlights and the Nindy Showcase. Have we entered the too many games period, do you think? Like, have we officially gone into too many games territory? 37 games in a week just announced.
I feel like we have been, but just the fact that now they're just promoting a lot of these new games as they're coming out a little more.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it definitely does feel a little overwhelming, and that's not even mentioning the games that aren't even getting any kind of promotion whatsoever.
Right.
And from what I can tell, it's a decent amount. Did they already start there? We're going to release 100 games a week?
It sure feels like it.
Yeah, because I was looking at the eShop the other day.
There's 100 games a month, I think. I think it's 25 a week or so.
That's still a lot.
It's a lot, yeah. 100 games a week, though, would be crazy. I mean, the Wii U has 1,000 games total. So 100 games a week means in less than 3 months, they would surpass the Wii U library every 3 months. Like, that'd be nuts.
Yeah, some games that I didn't know were coming out for a while are coming out, or I guess are out already, like Mini Metro. I thought that game still had a little while out, but it's out already.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like, it's a good problem for a platform to have, obviously, but I agree that, like, basically with everything you said, like, it's kind of a double-edged sword, because on the one hand, there's a ton of cool stuff to play, cool new experiences, retro-inspired things, what have you, but then, now more than ever, you don't really have a way of knowing all of them. I mean, they have multiple avenues of exposure, the curation seems more critical than ever, super, like, crucial than ever, not critical, and yeah, and like I feel like I just have to go. The two presentations in 2 weeks, a week apart, almost doesn't feel like enough, which is weird because it also feels like overload, like you were saying. So it is kind of, yeah, I don't know. I mean, it's those presentations help the games they're highlighting stand out against one another, I guess. But they need to do it in a way that'll make people want all of them, not
some of them,
or not feel like they're all blurring together, which is something we'll get to. I mean, this isn't a new problem.
I know it's
also, one we bring up all the time.
Yeah, it's also just a trends thing.
Mm-hmm.
Like
indies are very in,
and here at the podcast, like I like to think
here
that
at the Ram Nintendo office,
I like to think that we coined the artsy 2D platformer term.
Yeah,
I didn't really hear that, but it was like a thing that we just like. There's so many 2D artsy platformers. They're either, and most of them are puzzle platforms. Like, oh, what can interact with the environment? And there was just so many of them. And now I feel like we're entering the realm of pixelated party pick up and play party games.
Yeah, which we'll get to, because that's literally what the Nintendo Nindy Showcase, the NOA presentation, was all about. But like, even before that, everything you're saying just became so much more apparent from just the amount of announcements. Not just the Nindy Showcase, but also the European one, also the ones in between. Like, we went from like having 15 new indie games to watch on any given episode, maybe, or 15 to discuss from any given showcase, to again like 37. It's crazy. Like we like by every indication, it's going to get crazier too. Like, this is just the beginning, not the end. I mean, Switch has officially now passed 1,000 games available on it. And that was a few weeks ago. You thought it was at 1,000. We just now actually hit it. So you're very close. Closer than I was.
I have one about 1/16th of its library.
I have even less.
Right?
But here's the crazy thing. I just saw this article the other day. So Game Maker 2 engine. This is what powers Hyperdrift.
1.6.
I almost said Hyperlight Drifter. I was like Hyperdrift Force. That's not a thing. But Game Maker 2 powers Hyperlight Drifter. I keep doing that. And some others. And they have said that there are 1,000 developers who are interested in bringing games to Switch using that engine. 1,000. That's literally the entire Switch library right now.
Jeez Louise.
It's crazy. Yeah, it's just, I don't know. But the nice thing is, what's kind of good is Nintendo's finally starting to branch out. So what's beneficial is they're actually using the news app in a cool way. So obviously this won't solve all of the problems of too many games and not enough exposure. But they're pushing, they have pushed indie games before on the news channel on the Switch. But it sounds like they're going to use it as an opportunity to both highlight more games and make them stand out in different ways. Like the whole idea of you're sort of pitting games against one another, but they're all, trailer after trailer, pixely 2D local multiplayer thing. But it seems like what they're doing with this, because they're talking about, we're going to have extended Q&As, feature articles, little surprises. So I'm kind of thinking, this can almost be like a digital Nintendo Power. Like they can do a weekly newsletter or something where they highlight different games in different ways and draw attention to different aspects. So even if they are perhaps very similar in the genre, they can present them in such different ways that they're each memorable in their own way. And then maybe in those cases people will buy both instead of just one or whatever. So it could be cool. Like if you get people in the mindset of checking this thing regularly, like a Friday, almost like a follow Friday on Twitter, except for indie games, potentially it could work. I don't know. I mean, do you even look at the news app ever?
The news app? No.
So I used to.
I mean, I have, I follow Go Nintendo on Twitter, and they're really good about tweeting essentially every single indie game announcement.
Yep.
So even if I see them on the direct, I'll at least see the name. Mm-hmm. And then just I'm sure a lot of other Nintendo fans that like to be on the pulse of the news, they also go to Go Nintendo again.
Right. No, it's true.
It pretty much revolves around Go Nintendo.
It really does. Every time I build the outline for this, I just make sure I don't miss anything by going to Go Nintendo.
So that's kind of how I've been sort of keeping up with the indie games, but still, kind of like you were saying, maybe this will help people buy 2 instead of just 1. But then that's the other problem. A lot of the games they're announcing are just really interesting or look really good, and even if they're very similar, you can't buy all of them because that's just too much money.
Many games.
It's it starts to become unreasonable for them to expect to buy you. For them to expect for you to buy all these types of games, especially when they offer games kind of like Stardew Valley. There's one that we'll touch on that has apparently a 20-hour story mode, but then there's some that are more multiplayer centric that are, I guess, have other story modes with co-op. There literally isn't enough time in the day to play all these games. So I don't know. It's just tough. It sucks.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hoping the news app works.
I wish they went back to trickling out maybe 5 games a week,
which is again the weirdest problem.
But that's also too slow. I don't know.
This is the weirdest problem. Is we spent. I said this on a different episode, but we spent so many. What? Steam is worse. But we spent
Steam Lite.
Diet Steam. We spent so many episodes in the Wii U days being if only we got more indies, and now we're careful what you wish for. No, but the thing is, I think the news app could work. I mean, you have to get people to start checking it regularly, and the problem is, I'm an OCD weirdo who I used to to make sure I had them all marked as red. I'd actually go through and read them all. But I'm not as good as I once was. I think my downfall personally is I have a secondary European account. So suddenly I have not just the official NOA published stuff, but also all the European stories about eShop sales and deals and weird references to British things I don't understand, and they're all in there, and I'm I didn't even want these. So now it's just overload. So my concern is, on the one hand, will people even find this indie thing? They could push it, but are people going to dig in and find it? But then on the flip side, the anti-concern of that is that indie thing can clear up some of the clutter, so you actually be more motivated to go into the news app if you're balking at how crazy busy it is right now. So we'll see. I mean, none of this matters, as you're saying, if the games aren't good, and a lot of them are. Is the problem if you just have so much money.
Yeah, too many of them are good.
Yeah, so that kind of brings us to the indies that were actually revealed these past couple weeks. And Roy, I think, for me, I think the European indie highlight video was the better of the 2 presentations.
It felt like it had more style variety.
Yeah, and it had a nice, I like the charm of an actual person on front of a green screen for Nintendo Direct. It feels more personal, I guess. But highlights was just the highlights video was just more variety, pretty slick new presentation. It had a silly theme song for Monster Boy. Like, it had it all, really. Like, it wasn't just someone droning for a while. No offense to Kirk Scott and Nintendo. But it wasn't someone just talking for a while. There's actually more to it. But yeah, more to the point, like, the games, yeah, they just stood out better. So we'll get to the Indie Showcase in a bit, and we'll talk about how it's like a sea of 8 and 16-bit pixel art at that point. But first, and there's nothing wrong with that per se. But first, yeah, I think we should talk about some of the cool stuff that came out in the Indie Highlights video. And one that I'm particularly intrigued by is Nightcall, which was actually the very first game they showed across both these presentations. Like, it was the very first new indie announcement that happened since our last episode. So
it's funny. I saw both of them very recently. One of those times I made sure to pay attention.
And you still missed Nightcall?
And I still don't remember Wait, Hyper Light Drifter was the first one announced in one of the
first new game. Save myself. You're right. This is second.
New game. The first new game was Treasure Stack. I have these.
No. On the Indie Europe.
Oh, Indie Europe. But you said both.
But the Indie Europe happened the week before the American, so it was the first by technicality. Chronologically speaking. You're in, like, Twitter algorithm world. I'm still in chronological feed world.
Oh, okay.
But, so Nightcall is, if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you somehow missed it, it's essentially a murder mystery game. It has kind of an interesting twist compared to other entries in the genre, because it's a narrative-driven adventure game type thing. But first and foremost, it's non-linear. So multiple playthroughs mean that even when you encounter the same characters, and they will look familiar, the order and the outcomes are going to vary, as well as their guilt. So they'll get added into the story and be a totally different scenario, basically, than the last time you played. So it's actually a narrative-driven game that has real amount of replay, which is kind of cool. But to do that, what they did is they made the whole game center around a taxi. So you're playing as a cabbie. You both need to make enough money to just live. And you're assisting the police with a murder because they hit a dead end. So you have, like, normal dialogue trees where you have to interrogate people, but you also need to weigh whether it's worth continuing a conversation once you reach the destination. Like, there's a map as you're playing, and you have to kind of weigh, okay, is this conversation, which is more important in this moment? Do I get my money or do I get my info? And that also is just, like, another layer of decision-making on top of the usual dialogue tree stuff. So it's kind of like a risk-reward thing, which is,
very creative.
I don't know, it's a neat spin on it. And I think ultimately what's going to make or break it is what happens outside the taxi. Like, they showed some basic point-and-click, looks like sleuthing through files or something. I don't know if that's a cinemat. I don't know if that's gameplay, but I think you might need more than just the cab itself. And of course, the other thing that matters is how well it's written, since it's all about the characters and the conversations. So I'm hoping it's good because, like, the whole atmosphere is really cool. It has this, like, film noir aesthetic. Everything's black and white with, like, some hints of, like, kind of like incandescent light bulb yellow, like that glow, like the kind of beigey glow. And there's supposedly dozens of characters to interact with. So it sounds like they're building the right world. It's just a matter of how well they can pull it off. So assuming they do, to me at least, this feels like a really cool addition to Switch's library. I mean, there's already that whole audience that's into things like Thimbleweed Park or the Telltale games. So this just kind of slots in nicely, caters to that niche, but is still its own unique kind of take on it. And coincidentally, or maybe not so coincidentally, it's actually coming out early next year, which means anyone that's into this genre will be pretty much done with what they're playing by then, because Telltale just announced, back during Gamescom, I think, that Walking Dead Season 1, Season 2, and Frontier, New Frontier, will all... New Frontier, right? Or is it just Frontier? Yeah,
New Frontier Season 3, basically.
Right. They'll all be on Switch this year, it sounds like, or soon. So basically, people have time to play through those, they'll get tired of those, and then boom, here's Nightcall ready to fill that void. So we'll see. But it looks cool. I think it looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I agree. That was one of the ones that caught my eye. But again, it's like not enough time,
right? Yeah. Well, and then here's the thing: so, like, in the same way that Nightcall offers something different for narrative-driven games that maybe you have enough to play already, there's this game called Gardens Between, and it kind of does the same for puzzle platformers. Like, there's a lot of puzzle platformers on Switch, so you have to make it stand out in some way. You actually had a funny way of describing it. We were talking about it before we were recording, like a few days ago, and I was trying to describe a game to you. You had the funniest, like, oh, is that the game? I can't remember what you said, though.
Me too.
It sounded like, is that the game?
It's like just a weird,
I think I was like, is that the game where things that don't belong are on top of things that do, or something?
Something like that.
Yeah, because it has, like...
Yeah, it's just a game where you're just walking around, there's, like, random stuff that shouldn't be there.
There's, like, a giant VCR, there's, like, a
piano,
like a tape, like a Scotch tape roll, whatever. But, yeah, that's not wrong. It is a game made up of things that shouldn't be where they are. But from what I can tell from watching some trailers, all the weird things lying around are the basis of the game's puzzles. So they are kind of critical. And where it really stands out compared to other puzzle platforms is how you go about completing those puzzles, because you're not actually controlling the characters, you're controlling the flow of time in the level. So from what I can tell, they seem to move on their own. You're just saying, are you moving forward, are you moving backward, are things in the environment moving forward or backward as a result of what you're doing. And one example I saw in trailer is kind of neat, a neat way of sort of presenting this idea is it's super basic, but there's a piece of wood, there's a saw. If you bonk into the saw, it saws one way. If you reverse time, it saws the other way because you're now pushing it the other way, and then you just go back forward to saw the thing. That's the most basic way you could describe how the mechanic works, but it looks like it gets way more elaborate later in the, like, based on a trailer later in the game. So it's kind of a cool idea. Like, it also has kind of this other, sort of like how Nightcall stands out by being visually different from the other narrative games. This one isn't 2D side-scrolling. It is left to right, but it's on a 3D set of islands that spin around. It's very much like Captain Toad or Monument Valley, where they're kind of these little self-contained floating platforms, and they just spin as you move. So you still move, like, forward and backward, and that's it. But visually, it stands out from a lot of the other stuff on the Switch. That's something that's going in its favor, too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of those, what is it, doohickey doo game?
Yeah, exactly. And it's out really soon. It's out, like, September 20th. So I'm hoping to check it out and, have more on that soon. But if you want something truly different, I don't know if this one jumped out to you, but to me, this is the most indie of all the indies. Did. Yeah, so the game's Baba Is You. And it's weird. It's super weird.
Baba is me?
Baba is you. And I watched the trailer multiple times, and just for some reason it just did not click with me. But after going and researching and reading some background on it, now it makes sense. Now I kind of get it. So how it works is you're presented with a set of rules in each level, but the rules themselves are blocks you can interact with. So you can then manipulate each level to solve the puzzle by essentially moving around these rules. For example, one rule may say rock is push, and if you use your on-screen character to push the rock into a spot where it separately says Baba is you, you can make it say rock is you, and now you're controlling the rock, and you push the rock somewhere as the rock, you push something else somewhere else to beat the level or whatever. So they have like these written rules that's about mixing and matching and coming up with ways to combine them to basically figure out the series of events to get you through the game or through the levels.
Yeah, it sounds like they took the idea of Typo Man and just like took it to the next level.
It's like Typo Man CrossFit. Like, to me, what it reminded me of kind of was the basics of like coding, like kind of how Human Resource Machine and now 7 Billion Humans, which is coming to Switch soon, the sequel, how those are sort of, you follow the logic of coding, like if this then that type of thing, like input output.
Is that what 7 Billion Humans is?
It's the sequel to Human Resource Machine. Yep.
Oh, I thought it was just like another game that they made.
No, it's straight up a sequel. First time Tomorrow Corp's done that.
Oh, interesting.
But yeah, so Baba Is You kind of feels like it's cut from that same cloth. It's like, okay, your input is this, your output is that. You can manipulate the input to change the output. But yes, Typo Man was a very similar system. Yeah, and then this game looks the most indie you can imagine. It's like pixely art, but like super like scribbly, and it has like chiptune music, and it's very like abstract and very blank screens. But they're saying it's got over 100 levels. That's gonna get crazier and crazier. The crazy thing actually is it will have a level editor, meaning people. Well, yeah, I know a lot of games do level headed, for example, but in something like this where it's all about like logic puzzles, I feel like it stands out compared to level head. Chicken Wiggle, Workshop, Mario Maker, like all those are kind of make your own platformer. This is like basically create your own like sort of coding puzzle kind of. So that could be cool. Like that basically means people can get real wild and creative because it's really whatever you can come up with. It's almost like
Little Big Planet. That one had minor coding in it. People actually made a working MS Paint in it.
That's true. The thing I was thinking of, it's almost like a gamification of the logic you need to build stuff in Toy-Con Garage in Nintendo Labo. Like, because Toy-Con Garage, you tell it do this, and then it does that, and this is like, but what if that was a video game?
Yeah, it sounds kind of like there's a computer program that they use a lot in schools, code.org or Hour of Code.
Yeah, I've heard of that. Yeah, don't mind me as I choke on water.
Yeah, they're essentially coding puzzles, but you use jigsaw pieces to like create the code, and then you see your actions play out on the Minecraft characters or whatever.
So it's kind of like that, except the code is also the game. It's not like
it's done in real time.
It's all in real time, which is kind of neat. And I feel like something like Baba Is You is like really embodies the difference between the indie highlights they showed in Europe in that presentation and what our indie showcase here in the States had to share. Because Baba Is You is unique. It's out there, it's weird, and as cheesy as this sounds, which is very cheesy, I know, it felt like it captured that whole like indie spirit. Like, you know what I mean? Like it's like, oh, this is something no major publisher would ever release. It's like this weirdo thing. And it was part of a pretty diverse set of games in the indie highlights that went from like this to like a 3D space shooter with what was it called, Everspace, to Shadow dropping a full-on third-person shooter with Morphe's Law, which I am curious to try, but they seem to be having some online connection issues. I might
as well wait until
they iron it out.
Even then, like another game I want to play, but like there's
no time.
I'm still like finishing up my wrapping my head completely around Fortnite, but then
and that's the funny thing is when Morphe's Law was announced a year ago, it was the only game of its type on Switch. It was a third-person shooter. That's crazy. Now there's like multiple.
Yeah. Paladins.
Plus, if you count Paladins is
I know, but
technically, yeah.
Yeah, it's still, you can still consider it there.
Paladins, Fortnite, Crazy Justice when it comes out. I feel like there's another one I'm forgetting. Morphe's Law.
Just to mention, like, rest in peace every game on December 7th, but...
Oh, when Smash hits?
Exactly.
Well, yeah, that
and even just me personally, like, today, as we record, or the day we recorded, I just happened to finally upgrade from 5 megabyte internet to 100 megabyte internet.
And what a difference it makes, right?
Which means I could actually play Smash Brothers online without it lagging, instead of it being like maybe 1 every 10 games was playable. I don't know why I even tried, but I still tried anyway. But yeah, I feel like any hope I had of finishing other games just almost went completely gone. I have no reason to play Smash 4, but here I am.
Well, then that's funny you bring that up, because that goes into the indie showcase.
I could be finishing God of War,
but no, you're playing Smash on a defunct system.
Yeah, on top of and it doesn't help that like I'm quote unquote like I'm still keeping my fingers warm with Bowser, but like his moves are different. Like he doesn't have any of the combos that he has in this game, so I'm essentially
right.
Like all that muscle memory is going to go to waste anyway. So
what's the point? Except you're addicted.
It's
and
just fun.
You need to seek help. Yeah, it's because it's fun. But that does actually raise a good point, because the Indie Showcase, you sort of alluded to this. Like, I mean, what did you think of it? Because it was all kind of a big blur, a pixelated side scroller, everyone on one screen, combat. I mean, overall,
it emphasized that point I made earlier. There's a lot of interesting and fun-looking games coming, but more so now than ever, they're starting to feel redundant.
Yeah, it's like oversaturated.
Yeah, just that, oversaturated. There's just a lot of the same. There's too many. Like we said earlier, the 4-player quick party action game is
the new Metroidvania.
Yeah,
or is the new 2D artsy indie platform. Yeah, and it's funny because like this is such a Switch specific problem, because Switch is such a good local multiplayer machine. And by the way, we use problem loosely. Like these are all, I'm sure, great games, but it's just like when you have this many back to back to back, it gets kind of overwhelming. But it is funny that like Switch alone is the one with this problem, because Switch alone is the one that is built around this idea of single screen competitive multiplayer, or single screen or side co-op multiplayer, or scrolling screen co-op multiplayer. Like all these things all kind of intertwined to become this like redundancy issue, like you were saying. I think a perfect example of this whole issue is King of the Hat. So to be abundantly clear, I'm not knocking the game whatsoever. My point here is that
I think the game looks fun.
It looks fun, but if there weren't already so many games that fit this mold, like it would totally be up our alley, right? I mean, the basic premise is you have 4 people on screen, you're trying to out-survive everyone, your life is measured by how crushed your hat is, but the twist is that your hat is also your weapon. So you're literally putting yourself out there with your hat, only to then have it be the thing that gets attacked. So it's like this kind of dynamic of almost, I don't even know, it's not risk reward, but it's like there's an interesting like two-part thing here.
But like the key is that it just goes by really fast, and it's really easy to pick up. But like
they're talking about
like another game coming out very soon, like TowerFall, same thing. Right. The game's already established, but which one am I going to get? Probably TowerFall, because I kind of already felt like I've committed to that one since I've tried it.
Yeah, but I think the irony of all this is we're talking about all the games that are like, oh, they're all too similar, and then here comes TowerFall, which is the one you're excited about.
Yeah, but I'm only excited about it because I've already played a demo of it many years ago.
Right.
Many years ago. Wow. I don't even remember what year it was. It was like maybe at least 3 or 4.
Right.
But yeah, like that's the only reason I'm getting that game. Otherwise, also a lot of people in my social group just happen to really like that game because they played it on Xbox.
Mm-hmm. And Ouya. None of our friends have Ouyas.
But if it wasn't for that, I'd probably skip it because of games like Inversus. There's a space one, Space something Deluxe. It's like
right, you have it. We talked about it on the show before.
Yeah, it's like one shot kills you, and then you're just like little spaceships.
And here's the thing though, it's like TowerFall. Or sorry, it's not like I might have cut you off.
Treadnauts,
which we'll talk about later, ironically enough.
there's a couple others I'm off the top of my head I can't think of, but I know for a fact I have at least like 7 to 8 games on my Switch right now that are pick-up quick multiplayer games, and there's a bunch I skipped already because they're just coming out in an influx, and now they just announced these. Yeah, on top of that.
And the problem is like...
Yeah, like we don't play... Like, yes, like my group comes over, and I'm sure like a lot of people that have like their friends over, like that happens not as often as I would like it to make buying all these games worth it.
Right.
It's... Yeah, because of how far apart it happens, we barely get to really dive into Overcooked or Overcooked 2.
Still haven't played enough to talk about on the show, yeah.
Yeah, we haven't even really touched it.
Yeah, it's been out for almost a month.
Yeah, and as a result, like, things just kept getting further behind, and then sometimes we'll, like, revisit some of the older games that we had in the beginning, like all the Jackbox games, and then that pushes out everything back even further. Like, I mean, like, Just Shapes and Beats, like another quick pickup and party game for 4 people. But that one was... music and rhythm based on really different.
Yeah, so that stood out.
Yeah, so that carved out its own niche. But now these other like actiony, like
kind of blending.
Even like King of the Hat, I feel like kind of goes into the territory of like Brawlhalla, Brawlout, Rivals of Ether.
Yeah, the whole fighting game.
To name a few, and there's like all the other 2D fighting games. But
yeah, I think Brawlhalla is interesting because like every game we mentioned is an indie game. Except Brawlhalla, because Ubisoft now owns it. It's like It's not even the indies that are just doing this. It's also Brawlhalla, which is a major quote unquote game. Like this was announced during Gamescom, and this is, to be fair to Brawlhalla, it is, as you noted, more of a real fighting game than it is a like kind of local multiplayer silly game. But it still sort of fits the mold. Like for the sake of conversation here, like it is still part of the same problem. Like what? Yeah, what is Brawlhalla? Like, I don't know a whole lot about it. I know it's similar, but what's, like, the hook of it?
I mean, it's basically Smash Brothers, but with pixel art, of course.
Yeah.
But it revolves more around weapons. You pick up weapons. It's more like... It's like if Smash Brothers tried to make items competitive.
Interesting. So it's almost more like TowerFall, because TowerFall is also very weapon-based, right?
Well, yeah, TowerFall, you're just shooting arrows, but...
Oh, okay. Well,
yeah,
projectile-based.
Yeah, the game is... Like TowerFall, like, is almost, like, identical to Treadnauts, because that was also just about projectiles. Right. But... So it's a little different, but... There's also like, I don't know, it's really hard to decide on games because of word of mouth. It's like, I've heard good things about it, but I've heard better things about Rivals of Ether. So it's like, if I'm going to get one, I might as well just get that.
How many fighting games are you going to... Don't you have to like be good at fight? Like
that's the thing too. Like fighting games, like at least like that. If you're gonna play them for fun with friends, that's fine. Especially those 4-player ones. But the 2D ones, I feel are like a harder sell. Like I wanted Pocket Fighter for a while when there were like zero, when it was supposed to be like the only fighting game on there for a while.
Right.
But then here came Street Fighter 2, then Street Fighter 2 again among like 14 other games.
Right.
And then there's that other 3D, 2D fighting game, and
then there's Blade Strangers and SNK Heroines in a couple of weeks or days.
And then Smash Brothers is coming out soon. Of course,
which is going to swallow them up alive.
Yeah, it's like if I'm going to pick one, I'm also going to pick the one with King K. Rool. So
right, I do think in Brawlhalla's
I don't think so.
Defense, no, it doesn't. In Brawlhalla's defense, the one thing that it has going for it is it's free to play. So automatically that gives it an edge just to get people to check it out.
What?
And hopefully have a better environment. Yeah, the whole hook with Brawlhalla is it's free to play. So when it launches on November 6th on Switch, it will also be free to play. The question is, will it stand a chance? And I mean, launching a month before Smash seems almost like a death wish.
Yeah.
So I don't know, but I do feel like we need to give credit where it's due. Like again, all these games are probably very good. TowerFall we know is good. It has great recommendations. A lot of games it shows good, but like and what I was gonna say is the developers are really trying to like make them stand out on Switch. I mean, TowerFall that's been out for 6 years, I think, or something like that. And the Switch version actually has some cool new stuff. Just to sort of backpedal to it for a minute, like. As all Switch editions do, it obviously comes with expansion. So it has Dark World and Ascension, the two later TowerFalls. But they're also adding exclusive Switch characters in the form of Madeline and Balin from Celeste, which makes sense, same developer.
Pretty cool.
But beyond that, the biggie is it is upping the number of competitive multiplayer participants. Used to be 4. On Switch it will be 6, and they're making special wider screen stages to accommodate that.
6-player Smash.
6-player, yeah, essentially. But like that's kind of big. It's gonna be crazy. It almost hurts it because it goes more into the like chaotic King of the Hat style fighter or mayhem than anything else. But
unlike the other ones,
they're making efforts.
Yeah, and unlike the other ones, that one has like a rep.
Oh yeah, it's well known. It will do fine.
Everyone knows about like TowerFall. It's gonna probably be like a top seller for a while.
Yeah, but it's more like what about the smaller games? Like how are they gonna?
Yeah, also because it's like one of those games that's like perfect for the Switch. But I mean, King of the Hat is perfect for the Switch.
So is Killer Queen Black when that comes out.
Samurai Gun 2. It's another game that's kind of similar to.
And was in the showcase.
Yeah, like
or
it's like, it looks cool, but it looks very similar to like all those games we just mentioned. On top of it, looks very similar to like. Slime Chan and The End Is Nigh,
right?
And all those like really hard 2D platformers.
Samurai Gun 2 is funny in that it's literally melding the two popular indie things into one package, but
yeah,
they already exist in their own separate worlds.
It's interesting. Like that's cool that you're mixing them, but yeah, it's like you're not different enough.
Yeah, or like even a game like Zarvod, I think is how you pronounce it, right? Yeah. Like that one at least is isometric and 3D.
Yeah, like that one didn't do the pixels,
so
props for that.
Yeah, but it's still ultimately.
Yeah, it's still the same kind of like quick, twitchy, fire at your enemies, kill them.
Yeah,
or your friends for that matter, because it does have a single player campaign. I'll give it that.
Right,
but. Yeah, at the end, after you beat it, you're just going to be doing the multiplayer, and then it's no different than the other ones.
Right, and then even like in the European one, there was Windjammers. Now, actually, I should be fair to Windjammers. Windjammers is technically an old Neo Geo game. That, for one thing, the way the shorts blow in the wind and the animations on those sprites is beautiful. But no, it's also at the end of the day kind of the same. Because it's very close quarters. You're throwing rapid fire frisbees.
Yeah, it's almost like a little. We almost call it like a fighting game.
Yeah, it's like somewhere. But it literally is the bridge between the two genres that are getting over stuff that you were describing, basically.
Yeah,
yeah.
So it's like it's different enough that I could almost find a spot for it, but
yeah,
at the same time, it's like I don't know if I want another game like that. I don't know. I feel like more of my friends are gonna have to want it. To make it worth it, I guess.
Yeah, I think it's.
I didn't even mention Rocket League, but I mean Rocket League is also like its own thing. Luckily, there's like no other soccer.
Yeah, soccer games.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think the problem is like ultimately, if you look at just the showcase, there were like 4 or 5 games in this very similar like shared space, close combat, chaos, multiplayer on one screen subgenre, out of 12 games in the presentation.
Where's Gang Beast?
It's seriously. Although it's the same issue, but it has a reputation. Like that's the other thing. I was trying to say before is like, I'll get back to my other point in a sec, but like TowerFall will do fine. Killer Queen Black will do fine because Nintendo put it on the show floor at E3. Like some of these games are obviously getting propped up a lot higher than other ones, and there's this whole conversation that was happening on Twitter with Jules Watson and some other developers, where basically it's like Nintendo's. Like, how does Nintendo like choose which to promote? How do they decide which are better than others? Because it's not about the quality of the game. Some bad ones get a lot of attention. Some good ones don't get any attention. So it's just kind of this weird thing where they're all fighting one another. And ultimately, when a quarter to a third of your presentation, it was like 4 or 5 games of your presentation is all the same type of game. How, as Nintendo, do you even decide how to elevate them or whatnot? Like, what made Killer Queen Black? I guess maybe its reputation on the arcade scene, and it is very fun. But what made that, let's say, the one that goes on the show floor, while TowerFall was not, which also has a good reputation. You could argue Killer Queen Black maybe because it's a console exclusive.
Because it's never been in a console game.
I didn't even know it existed. That would do it.
Because I didn't even know it existed. I thought it was a brand new game, and then we're like, oh, it's an old thing.
Right? Yeah.
Interesting.
But something like to go back to the idea of
Paladins, I guess.
No, even that. So like. Well, actually, they had Paladins and Fortnite, so there you go. They were both there. But I was just going to say, there's other games in the genre.
Yeah, but why does Fortnite have to be there?
Because it's the biggest game on the planet. They took over not 1, but 2 stadiums at E3. One for the tourney, one for the after party. It's insane. But anyway, yeah, so it's... We'll see. But you know what's kind of interesting about Windjammers, since we mentioned it? The team reviving Windjammers itself is a revival, but the team reviving it, .emu... They're also the guys who are reviving Streets of Rage for Sega now with Streets of Rage 4. And there seems to be this sudden trend that seemed to kind of happen around Gamescom. This sudden trend of publishers bringing back old franchises in kind of like hands-off or lower budget ways. Like Gung Ho's doing it with the Grandia RPGs. They're getting HD remasters. Not remakes, just remasters. Capcom suddenly HDifying Onimusha Warlords, which is from 2001. It's from the launch of the PS2, and now it's going to be in HD, but the exact same game, like even down to the clunky controls, apparently. So there's this trend happening that Windjammers is hopping on, but what's nice is in the case of Windjammers and the Streets of Rage sequel, which we don't know if it's coming to Switch, but I'm sure it's coming to Switch, is Sega seems to actually be going one step further and actually having other teams who are truly passionate about their games do the reboots on their behalf. You know, we saw it with Sonic Mania, for example. They hired like one of the best Sonic fan game guys and had him do it. We're seeing it presumably with how Windjammers 2 will turn out next year, and presumably how Streets of Rage 4 will turn out. So it's kind of this is more of an aside from what we were talking about before. It's just kind of interesting that there seems to be this big influx of, remember that? Here it is again. Or remember that? We're just going to let a fan that grew up with it make it for us now. Like, my hope is Super Monkey Ball.
They're usually the best kind of people to make. I mean,
it's true. Sonic Mania is very good.
Just hiring people that grew up with the stuff. I mean, sometimes it's not a good idea. Like, there's some cartoons out there that are made by people that grew up with some of the cartoons we grew up with, and some of the quality is not the best.
Right.
But where it does really make sense is action figures. A lot of people that grew up with Ninja Turtle toys, like I did, really wanted some stuff with more articulation or toys that just looked like it did in the cartoon. But now the people that grew up with them are making them, and they actually make them look like the cartoon. Right. Which is like, whoa, it's awesome, and it makes you really appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, that seems like something, because the action figures were, I wouldn't say they were new when we were kids, but the concept of them
not even the fact
not, it's a recent
figures.
thing.
It's like oh man, you want a super
$600.
Yeah, you want an accurate like $11 toy? Like, nah, man, we're gonna give you a like 1/6 scale, super posable, like 1 million accessories to recreate the specific shot from the TV show or movie, but it's gonna be like $200-300.
And then you're gonna put it on your shelf and never recreate any shot but the one he's posed in.
And I'm like, damn, that's cheap. But
that's cheap. Yeah.
Hey, man.
I mean, it's all relative.
Hand painted, all that stuff.
That's true. Yeah, actually, for the amount of work that goes into
for the amount of work that goes in, it's pretty nuts. Engineering and all that stuff, especially for the Transformers. Jesus. What is the masterpiece ones? Yeah.
Right. You know, my hope is that this idea of taking the younger and letting them build new things in the worlds they appreciate. I'm hoping, or not necessarily the younger, but just fans. I kind of want Super Monkey Ball to get that treatment, as I started to say before.
It never will.
I mean, it might not. There's actually an indie. They just announced a game called Marble It Up for Switch. It comes out, I think, next month. This month. We're in September now. This month. And it's not Monkey Ball. I mean, it doesn't have a monkey inside a ball. But gameplay-wise, it does look pretty similar. I'm not saying they should graft Monkey Ball on this. I'm just saying, at least, if I don't get Monkey Ball like you think I will, at least I have this alternative. Because, like, you know, you're still navigating weirdly shaped tracks. There's still a time limit they have to work within. They have to try and get over ramps and through tunnels and yada yada and whatnot. And there's boosts and jumps and that sort of thing. But what's kind of interesting in this one is they're also doing a power-up system you can use in the levels themselves. So there's no bananas to collect because there's no monkeys. But instead they're putting other things on the levels that affect it. So, like, who knows if it's actually going to be of the caliber of Monkey Ball. I can hold out hope. It seems like they're modernizing a lot of stuff. It'll have ghost data. It'll have online leaderboards, all that. But, you know, it's on the right track, no pun intended, at least. So, maybe Sega will see this and be like, yeah, we should bring back Monkey Ball and get someone to do it Sonic Mania style. Monkey Ball Mania. Monkey Mania.
Maybe they should bring back Monkey Ball Mayhem in the same way that they brought back, like, a super gritty, dark reboot.
No, you mean like Bomberman Act Zero?
Yes, exactly. I want Bomberman Act Zero, but for Monkey Ball. Like, realistic monkeys.
Oh, that's weird. Do they still wear the shirts with no pants?
No, we're going to try to make it... They're going to try to justify, like, everything realistic. So instead of, I guess, these colorful capsules, I guess they'll be cages.
Ooh, this is weird. And I guess PETA's gonna be all over this.
I guess it'll be like a murder Coliseum dome or something, where like there's a bunch of spectators.
Enter the Thunderdome.
There you go, like a Thunderdome kind of deal, and the monkeys have to make it through the obstacle course or they die or something. There's like spikes on the bottom.
This is both the best and worst idea I've ever heard for a reboot. So I hope Sega does two things. I hope they do what Konami did with Bomberman,
and it also feels like it's gonna bomb horribly.
Yeah,
but I don't know, give it the best physics and it'll be like a very perplexing game for people to play. Like, man, this game...
Would you even still call it Super Monkey Ball? Because if they're...
It'll be Ultimate Monkey Ball.
Oh. Yeah. Monkey Death Ball. No, that doesn't work. Anyway. Yeah. Yeah, so that's my dream. Not that. Normal Monkey Ball. but we'll see. The thing, kind of to our earlier point, I feel like we got sidetracked about, like, fans making games. But to the earlier point about all the games being the same. You know what's crazy? It wasn't even just what was in the showcase. There was stuff outside of it too, on a high level. Like a high level. Like indie game royalty levels. Like Shovel Knight is now making a game that fits this exact mold. It's like, why? I mean, it looks cool, but it's just kind of like, why? So Yacht Club Games, they revealed this past week that they have one more surprise game planned for Shovel Knight. They're calling it Shovel Knight Showdown. And like I said, it's a local multiplayer, single screen, competitive mode. So they're really, it's a free update for everyone who has Shovel Knight Treasure Trove. But it's also going to be $10.
It looks like a simplified Rivals of Aether, like a slightly more complex King of the Hat.
And it does look fun. Like, all of these look fun. Every game we've talked about, we brought up because it stuck with us because it's probably fun. But they all look so, like, similar. It's just, I don't know, like for Showdown, Yacht Club Games is like kind of doing some interesting stuff. It's not just that one mode. I mean, you know, they'll have 16 different playable knights and all that. Some for the very first time. But you'll be fighting on stages from throughout the rest of the game. So it's kind of also like an internal Smash Bros. Situation. You can either play against AI or other people.
Oh, it's like Shrek Fairy Tale Freakdown.
Yes, that game that everyone just always has at the tip of their tongue, ready to bring up in a moment's notice. Yes. I barely even remember that game. Remember when Shrek had a kart racer?
I know, like many years later, it got like a resurgence, and then it got a competitive scene, and there's like an actual meta for it.
Really?
Yeah, it's like it started off as an ironic joke, and then I guess it just became a thing.
Huh?
Yeah.
But yeah, so it is like that, except it has multiple modes. I don't know if that had multiple modes, but this has multiple modes. So that's what I was starting to say. It sounds like they're actually trying to put more effort into it. So there's standard showdowns, but there's also like a gem clash mode where you have to. It's almost like Killer Queen Black, where it's less about fighting each other and collecting gems. So
Shovel Knight Treasure Trove, has showdown inside of it, and some other stuff.
Yes. So what's going to happen?
Is it like,
this is where it gets really confusing.
Is it like the Shovel Knight collection where it has Shovel Knight? Every Shovel Knight game ever? Right?
So the plan is, and luckily for other indies, this is the plan, because while Showdown will be sold on its own, it's mainly going to be bundled with the other stuff. So you're really getting it if you want the whole package. But it will be Treasure Trove, as we currently know it, and then it will also have the new, what's it called? King of Cards. So basically where you play as one of the other knights. So basically you get 3 separate Shovel Knight games, plus Showdown mode, for like $30 as a single package. But if you already bought Treasure Trove, King of Knights, or King of Cards, not King of Knights, King of Cards and Showdown will be free downloads simultaneously on the same day of April 9th, 2019. This is very far out. That same day is also when they're releasing a 3-pack of the Plague Knight, Spectre Knight, and King Knight, which I can only assume are the ones from each of the little spin-off things that are included in Treasure Trove. So there's a whole world building going on here. And I mean, like, really world building, because one of the other things that they mentioned is Showdown will have a single-player mode where they have every night has specific challenges against specific opponents and rivals, and mini games and a final boss, and there's like a story that you go through the fighting. So they're putting an effort here. Don't get me wrong, but it's just like, why are they putting an effort in that specific genre that everyone else is already doing?
Well, I mean, I guess
it's not to knock it. I'm sure it'll be fun. It's just there's so many of them.
It makes sense. I mean, I guess they didn't really have to do much. The gameplay itself would only really fit a fighter type game.
That's true.
If it's not a platformer. I mean, it's like they wrote themselves into a corner.
You know what they should have done? They should have used the King of Cards name literally and made a card game. A Hearthstone-style card game, but all Shovel Knight.
Oh, wow. That could have been interesting.
Just saying. No one can paint baby in a corner or whatever that expression, that thing from Dirty Dancing is. Like, there's a way around it. And yeah, like, just to reiterate, because I feel like we've talked, it sounds like we're being so negative. It's really cool there's all support. I don't think either of us are saying any of these games that are kind of similar are bad. Like, I know the developers are proud of them, of what they're building.
Saying I spent too much money on a lot of similar games that I don't feel I need anymore.
Yeah, so it's kind of like they're pouring their hearts and souls into these games, but it's like,
but I'm full.
Yeah, we already supported those games. Like, there's only so many times you can eat dinner in a single night. Yeah. Usually the answer is once, but it's kind of like that. And I bet, like, on their own merits, these are all great games, but it's the same issue. It's just like, you're not going to have 5 desserts. Actually, I would love to have 5 desserts, but yeah. What's promising and more exciting, I think, is that there were still some games that are trying to do something new or unique, even within this sphere of single-screen, multiplayer, competitive, whatever you want to call it. I think one example from the showcase, actually, is a game called Treasure Stack, which ultimately is just a merger of this whole single-screen platforming idea that we keep talking about, but with a traditional falling block puzzle game. So on those two merits individually, it's like, oh, we have a lot of those. But combining them, like, you still have all the traditional puzzle mechanics. You're still trying to fill your opponent's screen with garbage blocks until, their cup runneth over. But instead of controlling the blocks as they fall, you're actually playing as a guy platforming on top of the blocks and using a grappling hook to pull them down to where you are to form the things that make them go away. So like that, on the two halves of that, sure, maybe they don't stand out, but when you combine them, at least on some level, it's a little more new and different feeling, like it does sort of pop out in the sea of all the same.
Like I like the way they use the grappling hook to like bring blocks in. Like it just reminds me of this like TI 36 game called Blockman.
I believe you mean 83.
84.
Well, it wasn't 36. But yeah.
Oh yeah, you're right. 84, yeah. 84,
I like how you corrected my correction with something totally different than what you said, as if you never said the first thing.
Me too. Yeah, or the Silver Edition. That was nice. But
that was steady. I remember.
And it was the same premise. Like these blocks fall on top of you, and you just have to like position them so you could like get out of there. It was like the only platform box hacking game I knew about. And then when I saw this one, I'm like, oh, that's cool. It's like they brought that.
Hey,
back.
It's that nostalgia wave they're riding.
Yeah.
But what's kind of interesting about this is, so basically, if you want to run with the Blockman analogy, they are modernizing it. So it's multiplayer. It has crossplay. It has online play. There's a single player survival mode, and that's it. There's no it doesn't seem like there's much beyond the multiplayer and like a single player. How long can you go? But nonetheless,
there's a battle royale mode.
Yeah, but there's secretly a mode where as the screen closes in, you have to eliminate as many blocks so there's one block standing. But no, it's it does offer something new and kind of different, so it should be cool. It stands out at least, and perhaps a better example, something that actually is taking an idea we're very familiar with on Switch, but presenting it in a very different way, is a game. This wasn't even in the showcase. It was announced a couple days later, but it's called Tock, A Tale of Two. So it's a narrative adventure, kind of like Nightcall is, but it very cleverly uses the idea of Switch being a big place for co-op games by literally 100% being a co-op game. However, it's not a traditional one where it's you and a friend on one screen. You're actually on separate devices. You don't even have to be on the same system. It's crossplay. And you have one part of the game on your screen, or one part of the game world, or some representation of the game world, and your friend will have a different representation, or like a companion representation, and together you need to identify the puzzles, solve them, move on to the next level. It's all very much in the vein of Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes. But the difference is that's the one where you help defuse a bomb. Well, we should have impressions of it soon. We had the game, so stay tuned for that. But the difference with this one compared to that is this goes one step further, because it's not one person playing a game and someone basically being the player's guide for them. You're both simultaneously playing the game. But like with Keep Talking, you can play it in any capacity. You can be next to each other in a room. You can be far away online, as long as you have a voice connection. So it's cool. It's besides just sounding really cool, I think it would have done is it could have breathed a lot of variety into the showcase. Like if they just swapped out one, or even just they didn't even need to swap one out. If they just put this one in as game number 13 in the showcase, like it would have added a lot. I feel like, and it's coming out this winter. It totally qualifies to be in the time frame of the showcase that it was focusing on. But yeah, it would have just helped to better represent the actual variety of indies that are on the Switch versus the Ocean. Because we're talking so much about, all the games look the same. But to be fair, there are a lot that, like Mini Metro, you referenced that earlier. That's very different from everything else.
A really weird trailer.
Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Yes, but that's like nothing else on Switch. I don't know. I have Mini Metro on my phone.
Are they playing like on a TV and that's just what you do? You kind of dance? It turns into a rhythm game or something?
Wait, what? I don't know if I've seen the same trailer as you. Mini Metro is about building a subway system. Why are they dancing?
That's what the trailer starts with. It starts with a woman like playing Mini Metro on her Switch, and then she looks over at this older man across from her, and then she removes the Joy-Cons, and then he pulls two Joy-Cons out of nowhere. And then
you don't keep Joy-Cons in your pockets at all times?
And then they stare at, like, I guess, the Metro map, but on the side of the bus, on the inside side of the bus. Yeah. And then they're just adding stuff to it, but they're doing it while dancing. And then this other guy comes in, and he also starts dancing and adds lines, and this other person comes in.
You know what this reminds me of?
So I can only assume that would be, like, the TV, and everyone's controlling their own Metro line. But
I don't even know if it has multiplayer.
It's very... I mean, I figured it has 4-player multiplayer, because that's what the thing was implying.
Well, now you got me curious. So, you know what we'll do? We will add a link to this trailer on the blog post for anyone who wants to watch it, because somehow I missed it, and I'm really curious.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Reminds me of... You know what it reminds me of? Do you remember when the Wii was unveiled at E3, or the Wii lineup was unveiled at E3 2006? and Miyamoto conducted the unveiling. So he was out there in a tux, and he had a baton. He had a Wiimote as his like baton, and he started conducting. At first, it was Wii music, so just like some Mii's playing, and then it went like and turned into Red Steel and Excite Truck, and he was conducting a guy with a gun shooting Japanese mobsters and a truck journeying through mountains. But he's conducting it like it was music. Like, it was super bizarre. And it sounds just like what they were channeling for main Metro, except that one was multiple people.
Maybe.
But, yeah, that's kind of funny. Yeah, but my point is, if they put more games like that in the showcase, I feel like that would have been useful. Like, to be fair, there was a pair of games in the showcase that did the trick for me on some level. Like, these are ones that stood out. They were unique. You kind of referenced one of them already. But, I mean, they could have done a lot more. Like, the more the merrier for something like this. So, to give credit where it's due, let's talk about the two that actually stuck out. The first is Mineko's Night Market, which you did name drop earlier. Mineko's.
Mineko means
you heard me pause for a while to decide how to pronounce it, and then I still went with the wrong one. But yeah, like, to me, wait, what does it mean?
Mineko means cat.
Oh, because everything's cats in the game. Wait, so it's like weirdly like cannibalistic. So it's a cat that's running at her night market, but she also plucks cats out of the ground to sell?
Yeah, it's weird.
Wow, that's dark. That's real. No wonder it's a night market. That is dark.
Don't think about it.
But I don't want to. Next game. No, but no, the thing about it is it did a good job of presenting a genre that's different from everything else. It's filling a more niche spot in the Switch lineup, which in of itself made the game stand out even more.
Yeah, it is artsy, but it's not pixelated, and it's not and it's not low poly CG. It's just like just a
papercraft,
just a cute round art style. It's like, I don't know, like something you would see like from Cartoon Network, but like actually it reminds me of a lot of art that you see in like the art of books. Like the art of like, it looks like pre-production work.
Oh, like we're like, step 1, draw a line. Step 2,
no.
Draw the round thing. Step 3, it's done.
No, like if you see like if you watch a movie like, let's say you watch Zootopia.
Okay.
And then they come out with a book, The Art of Zootopia, and it just looks like a bunch of like really nice art from the movie. But you're like, wow, nothing looked like that in the actual movie.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because everything's like nicely colored and there's like nice shading.
It is a very pretty game.
Yeah, it's just a really nice
game. And what's cool, like in the same way that I feel like Nightcall jumped out as in the narrative adventure world of games because it had that film noir look. This definitely does the same for like, I don't know what genre to call it, the world of Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, whatever, and Harvest Moon. Like whatever you want to call that genre, like life simulation / RPG adventure, I don't know. But this feels like it's catering to that, which, you know, that's a huge audience. Stardew is one of the biggest games on the indie scene on Switch. Animal Crossing is now one of Nintendo's biggest franchises, and, you know, people are going to be sitting and waiting for Animal Crossing on Switch, so maybe they're done with Stardew. Maybe want a little more of that Harvest Moon vibe. Mineko seems to do it. I mean, you're literally farming cats at one point. That's straight up Harvest Moon. Or Stardew. But yeah, it's... To kind of channel Stefan from SNL for a minute here, Mineko's Night Market has everything. It has villagers to interact with, sewing and woodworking mini games, an in-game economy for selling goods, RPG quest to go on, a 20-hour story, a whole bunch of cats. Of course, that art style. Like, there's a lot here. So whether it's something like you are going to buy or I'm going to buy, like all I'm saying is it really stood out as a unique thing in the presentation. And it's, you know, it has a vague release of 2019, so who knows when we'll actually get to experience it. But it was, just on principle, one of the most noteworthy games, because it was literally noteworthy. It was like nothing else. Do you think you're actually going to get it? Because you never, did you get Stardew?
No.
But you like Animal Crossing?
Yeah, but I only have enough time to play one of those games, so I decided to go with Animal Crossing.
That's fair, and it brings it back around to the bigger point we've been making all show.
Yeah, and like to a lesser extent, Minecraft is pretty similar.
That's true.
To not like, I mean, you don't do the exact same thing.
But it's like the open world.
But yeah, there's a lot of like grinding. All those games are grinding.
You know, Animal Crossing, really grinding?
Animal Crossing,
Pocket Camp.
Animal Crossing is grinding. Minecraft is grinding. Stardew Valley is grinding.
The problem with
I can't do too many of those kind of games.
You don't like being on that much of a grind.
Yeah.
Feels like a grind.
Because those are time killers until like the next big game comes out, and yeah. I have enough games right now to keep me occupied until Smash comes out, but it looks like Smash is
By enough
doing
games,
that.
You mean you just have Smash for Wii U to keep you occupied until Smash Ultimate comes out?
Yeah.
I mean, you literally made that point like half an hour ago.
I know. So. It's tough.
Yeah, but there is one other game I want to mention from the showcase that stood out.
Yeah, my comments are going to be very one-sided after December 7th.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. So I was playing this awesome new... I was playing No More Heroes, Travis Strikes Again. It's January 18th. The game's out. They just announced that. I'm playing it, and you're going to be like, that's great. Did you know King K. Rool, if you go back and then do a down smash, it's actually a different animation, and if you do the up smash in the same exact... I'm like, what?
But I'll just be like, what are you... Like, what we're playing. Same thing.
Yeah.
Kind of like when there was a while where I just kept saying Hearthstone because that literally was all I was playing.
And yet it's still not on Nintendo systems. We are getting Elder Scrolls version of Hearthstone.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know when, but it's coming.
Or why.
Did you know? I just read this the other day. When Fallout Shelter was first pitched for Switch by Bethesda to Nintendo didn't even have a free-to-play system in place yet, and they had to kind of scramble to get it together. Because I don't think it was the very first free-to-play on Switch, but they were planning it very early on. So Nintendo's like, they're like, hey, how we do this?
So that was pitched before Fortnite was a thing?
That was pitched before Fortnite came to Nintendo, at least.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, before Fortnite was a
thing. I suspect they pitched it around the time that Nintendo went to them. It was like, so Skyrim. Like, because remember, Skyrim was in the very first unveil of the Switch. So I bet you at that time, Nintendo's like, half a year before we even knew about the Switch, back when it was just the NX, they're probably like, so, like, Skyrim. Like, what would it take you to get Skyrim on there? And they're probably like, what about these other games we have? And Nintendo's probably like, yeah, but we don't know how to support that. And now here we are, and they support it. So thanks, Fallout Shelter. You got everyone else's free-to-play games up and running. But yeah, there is one other game in the showcase that stood out too. I'd be remiss if we didn't mention it, since it is, in my book, the standout game of the show. Of both presentations, really. Like, of all the indie stuff we've been talking about for, like, the last 50 minutes, this is the one, to me. This is the one. Untitled Goose Game. I mean...
If I hadn't heard about it a year ago...
See, I knew nothing about it.
I would have been maybe more excited for it, but I guess I saw so many videos about it and so many...
I literally knew nothing about it. I don't know how I missed it. It's a goose and it's a game, but I knew nothing.
It makes sense. I mean...
I only focus on Nintendo, so how would I have seen it?
Yeah, exactly. There's a ton of games that are coming to Switch, like indie games that many people think like, oh, like I never heard of this game, but they've been out for years. Like,
yeah,
like there's a game called Lifeless Planet that is coming out like on September 6th on the Switch. Apparently, it's been out on Steam for years because Obis already had it, and he was saying, "Oh yeah, I bought that game. Never played it though because
Steam, where you buy every game." And
it was like a summer sale, you know. Like
of course. Yeah. I mean, the eShop's now suffering from that fate as well. But yeah, it's I didn't know anything about Untitled, and that's actually something I was trying to do with this, like, because there's a ton of games that are being ported that we're not even talking about. You got your Into the
Into the Brine.
What is happening? He just reached over to me while I was talking, like randomly grabbed a sharp like thumbtack from his corkboard, and I don't know if he's planning to stab it with me at some point.
They don't have to know that.
They do, because I got all tripped up in my talking, so I had to explain it away.
Wow.
But no, there's I just forgot what it's called. The strategy game, the one that Shadow dropped with the Ninja Showcase.
Oh.
Into the
Star something.
Nope.
Whatever.
It's not Into the Brine. You're not a pickle. It's
Super Brothers. Sword and Sorcery.
No. I'm glad you have a list though. It's
Well, this is from the Ninja Showcase. It's probably
no, it is from the Ninja Showcase.
The World Next Door.
No.
Levelhead.
No. Oh, you have a second page?
Mineko's Night Market, Treasure Chart, TowerFall.
Keep going.
Zarvot.
Nope.
Samurai Gun 2, Bullet Age, The World Next Door, Levelhead. Well, that's the rest of it.
You literally didn't write down the one game that's already
I wrote down
out.
all of them.
Mm-mm.
They're all on there.
It's not here. Into the... Wow. I love how we just grinded to a halt because I can't remember the name of the game that everyone's been raving about for the past week. And I do want to try.
Is it that very pixely with skinny...
It's the Fire Emblem game. Into the... No. What was it called? Oh my
Collide? God. That's a Fire Emblem game?
No, I'm literally going to... This is insane. I'm sorry, listeners. You're all sitting there screaming at your devices, I assume. Going like, this game. How do you not know? But yet here we are with me just rambling as I pull up the list of games so I could say its name because it's driving me crazy.
Dragalia Lost?
No, that's a mobile game by Nintendo. Into the Breach. It was on the tip of my tongue and it felt wrong, so I didn't say it. But I guess I was also right. Into the Breach.
What else?
So that's a port that we're not bringing up. We're not bringing up Chasm coming to Switch. We're not bringing up... You named off like half the ones that we're not bringing up. All the ones we're not bringing up. Because, like, yeah, it was... As you point out, there's so many old games that are now coming to Switch. That's kind of...
Too many cooks spoil the broth.
Yeah, but it's kind of like hard to, be... Oh, yeah, check out this game. But Goose Game. Untitled Goose Game is the exception in my book. Because what a great First of all, it's not out on anything yet, so but it's still first on Switch and PC. But what a great concept. I mean, it's obviously cut from the same cloth as Goat Simulator or Octodad, but the premise is you are a goose and you have to harass people, and it's an open sandbox world, but you have missions of how you can go about harassing people, and you go harass them, and again, you're a goose. So, there's not much else to say about it. It has a really cool art style. It's kind of like Samurai Jack if Samurai Jack was a goose.
Yeah, it's quirky.
Yeah. It's like, I'm not even kidding how excited.
It feels like something that would be like a micro game in WarioWare, but it's like
a full game, which is like they're literally building an entire like world for this goose to explore and eat people's picnics and poke at their legs and take their glasses and honk. And I mean, this isn't saying much because we don't know very many games coming out in 2019, but Untitled Goose Game is my most anticipated game of 2019. That's right. More so than Fire Emblem. More so than No More Heroes. More so than presumably the new Pokemon RPG, which I think is late 2019. More so than Metroid Prime 4, because we haven't even seen what that looks like. It's all about Untitled Goose Game. I think we should just end the podcast. There's nothing else to say. Let's just end the podcast. No, I'm kidding. No, you're like, yeah, it's a short episode. Great. No, there actually is a lot else to say, because, I mean, do you even care about, are you getting Untitled Goose Game? Do you have any interest, or are you over it because it's a year old in your mind and been there, done that?
Kind of. I feel like I've had my fill of footage and stuff that I'm kind of okay with not playing.
That's kind of thing is like, I mean, for a comedy game, you can't really get away with... yeah,
it's like the joke, I already saw the punchline, and I've got... Which is, I was able to like simmer in it for a while, and it doesn't help that. I mean, when is it coming out?
Early 2019 is all they said.
There you go, post Smash Brothers.
Post Smash Brothers. Boy, I think this podcast is just going to turn into a Smash Bros. Podcast starting December 7th.
Yeah, you might have to do it solo for a while until like the honeymoon period is over.
It's just going to be like. Then... I'm like, so Nintendo announced Metroid Prime 4 today. It's like, I already have Ridley and Samus and Dark Samus and Zero Suit Samus in my game. I don't need that. Like, everything that they announced to just find a way to tie it back to Smash. I guarantee it.
Easy. I mean, they have so many characters.
I know. It's literally the easiest job. But, yeah. I was saying there's not much else to say about indies after Untitled Goose Game. So we might as well just move away from indies. Because while all that was going on and unfolding, there's also an event over in Japan called the Computer Entertainment Developers Conference, or CDEC. Rolls right off the tongue. And this year, none other than Shigeru Miyamoto was the keynote speaker. And that in and of itself is pretty noteworthy, but what makes it really noteworthy is that a large portion of his speech was about the value of software. Essentially, he was pitching the end of free-to-play. Like, essentially, Miyamoto echoed the old sentiment that Satoru Iwata gave way back in a GDC speech he did late in the 2000s. I'm going into Nintendo historian mode here. But there's this thing, he ran this whole thing, it was around the time of the DS, and he was and the Wii, and he was basically like, it's important to set a value on your games. So at the time, he was pushing against the concept of the race to the bottom pricing where, that was just starting to bubble up with the rise of the App Store. So 99-cent games are bad. You should make people want to pay more money than that, or else no one's going to buy better games and you won't have the budget and whatever. Now in 2018, similar idea from Miyamoto, but it's about free-to-play instead. So his specific concern that he outlined is that if you try to nickel and dime folks with in-app purchases, you'll ultimately end up becoming too greedy and turn people off. You have so many layers and systems of mechanics that the game won't be driven by your gameplay ideas, but will be driven by money-making schemes. So he instead is specifically calling on making games a fixed price, because he believes that if you don't overcharge players, they're going to be playing more games for a longer period of time, which means it's a more sustainable business model in the long term, which sounds right.
And then the lights dimmed and they announced Dragalia Lost.
Exactly. That's what's insane. Because Miyamoto, just to continue with his train of thought, because yes, ultimately where I'm going with this is, but then they announced Dragalia Lost like a week later. But Miyamoto went on to say that even though he can't say Nintendo's fixed price model works, that's a success. I mean, they previously have said Mario Run underperformed. That's not new. He said that Nintendo plans to keep pushing forward with it until, as he puts it, it becomes entrenched. So fixed pricing will be such a thing for Nintendo. It's going to be such a big deal. And then came Dragalia Lost. So it's just like, I don't get it. I mean, it is a noble effort. I just feel like Miyamoto's living in some sort of alternate dimension saying all this. Because Dragalia Lost. No, but really, it's, don't get me wrong. I'm not a fan of free-to-play implementations. I'd rather pay a flat rate like Mario Run and have my game. But when it's done well, like the free-to-play stuff, or when it's done in a way that's not too intrusive, it's not that bad. What?
No, I just
like Hearthstone. I was about to ask you, like, because Hearthstone's a good example.
Yeah, that's one of the few really good free-to-play models out there because you could essentially get away with everything without paying a single dime. It just takes a little bit of time, but it's fun to get to that point.
And the way that the mechanics are built into the game, it makes sense. You're buying packs of cards.
Yeah.
Yeah, or like another good example is probably Fortnite. Like that makes a ton of money. It's one of the most successful games, but you don't actually need to buy anything.
Yeah, because it's literally just the cosmetics. You could essentially get the same experience as anyone else. Mm-hmm. I think the only thing you don't get, from what I gather, because I'm not going to buy a season pass.
Me neither.
Is that the season pass holders have specific challenges that only they'll see on their map. So, I guess that's the thing. Like someone might be dancing in front of a house and you're like, why? And they're like, oh, because that's an achievement.
They have that emote or whatever.
Well, like it's like you get like I guess virtual currency for doing specific challenges.
Oh, that's what I meant. I thought I meant they were doing a specific dance.
Oh no, they were just doing a dance in front of an object, and you don't know why, but like everyone else knows why because they see the challenge.
And those are all like it's like achievements on Xbox, or it's just a side, or trophies on PlayStation. It's just a side task. It's not crucial. So yeah, if those are behind a paywall, whatever. But so Fortnite, Hearthstone, those are good examples of free to play work. But even if you look more specifically inward to Nintendo's own properties, this is really where my alternate dimension comment comes from. Because if you look at something like Pokemon Go, which obviously was a runaway hit, it's entirely free to play. You don't even need to use the free to play. I mean, it's not even that aggressive compared to other games. But the game was the #1 top grossing mobile game in the US last month, 2 years after launch. It was number 4 worldwide last month. And The Guardian put up this great article about the game's big comeback in recent months and how there's interest in the game again because they have regular events and activities. There's something else every day. And there's rollout of new features. What?
Network.
What work?
Their events.
Oh, yeah, that work.
They actually have events that work.
Yes, they did a Pokemon Go Fest that did not end in a lawsuit and $150 million. What?
Yeah, in Boston?
And Chicago. Yeah, and they just did one in Japan last week. Or this past weekend, yeah. But, yeah, so it's doing well to the point where it now has 60 million active players worldwide. Which, just to give you a point of comparison, it's a different type of app entirely. But Pokemon Go has 20 million more active users of it than Uber does. There's more in the user base for Pokemon Go than there is for Uber, the #1 taxi app in the world that is ubiquitous with the app ecosystem. Like, whenever you think of apps, it's like Uber, Instagram. And Pokemon Go is more. And it's all free to play. And it's making money. So it seems weird that Miyamoto, who his company's getting a third of that money, is like, nah, free to play doesn't work. And like, fine, maybe Miyamoto just wants to refer to Nintendo's own first party games. Maybe that's how he's proving his point. But again, alternate dimension here, because Nintendo's biggest mobile successors are the ones that use the exact mechanics he's saying are bad and shouldn't be used. I mean, Animal Crossing Pocket Camp has a gacha system of sorts, as does more notably, and to much bigger success, Fire Emblem Heroes. So there's this data from an analytics firm called Sensor Tower that shows that Fire Emblem has made Nintendo something like $400 million, while Mario Run has made them $60 million-ish. That's a very big difference. So for Miyamoto to be up there and be like, hey, I don't think we should do free-to-play mechanics. It's not worth sacrificing your games. And now on the side being like, but my company's going to go ahead and do it and sacrifice our games. It's just, I don't know, it's very contradictory. And, then you have Nintendo's new president, Shintaro Furukawa. He was going on record just a few months ago, right when he became president, that he wants to make Nintendo's mobile business a $1 billion business. Which brings us back to the cognitive dissonance that is Dragalia Lost the same week as Miyamoto saying all this stuff. Like, Nintendo did a big special direct for Dragalia Lost. Is the first real news on the game. And for those who don't remember, Dragalia Lost is that collaboration they're doing with Psy Games, which is huge in the free-to-play space in Japan. And for Nintendo, the benefit is it can now take that easy moneymaker, go global with it, build a new brand, that sort of thing. So it's an original IP, and because it's with Psy Games, guess what? It's not just free-to-play, it's like super free-to-play. It is tripling down on everything Fire Emblem Heroes does.
When does it come out?
September 27th.
Oh.
Soon.
The same day that I'm going to go watch the Transformers movie.
In theaters for the first time since the 80s.
Yeah, that movie originally aired in 1986. I was not born, so that'll be interesting.
I've never seen it in a theater. I've always seen it at your apartment in college.
You couldn't have.
I know. Yeah. I also wasn't born.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Weird.
But weird.
They're really old.
Weird because I'm only a few months older than you.
It's more than a few.
Mm-mm. It's like 4.
It's more than a few. Anyway,
no, but so Dragalia Lost, yeah, they're tripling down on Fire Emblem Heroes. Like, Fire Emblem Heroes, like, summoning gacha system?
Yeah, you pick marbles and...
Yeah. How about 3 of them to do anything in Dragalia Lost? Huh. So, like, to be fair, the game actually does look pretty fun. It's it's an action RPG.
I mean, I like some burgers with triple meat, so why wouldn't I like a triple layered system of gacha?
Because it's triple the chance of wasting your currency that you either paid for or earned through hard manual labor. Through grinding. Yeah, but, like, to be fair, the game does actually look fun, is what I was starting to say. I mean, it is an action RPG, so obviously it has to be mobile friendly, which means you kind of just drag your finger to move, you tap enemies to attack. But there is cool stuff. There's a local multiplayer feature that lets you play across devices, which is kind of neat. So you can, multiple friends with iPhones all in one place can play together. There's this whole transformation system where you, like, build up a meter, you turn into a dragon briefly, you then, like, unleash more powerful attacks. Like, the whole thing is very much kind of this real-time action RPG in the vein of, like, Gauntlet or Diablo maybe. And that's kind of cool to have on mobile. And it's not the first game to do that, by the way, but it is kind of cool to see Nintendo dip in. But if you look at, like, the structure and presentation, it is very, very much Fire Emblem Heroes, just reskinned as an action RPG. I mean, you've got a bajillion characters. There are 60 characters you can play as, so it does have some nice variety. I believe each has their own dragon, and it has different attacks, which helps as well. But, of course, the characters also fall under different classes, so there's strengths and weaknesses. There are 4 in total. There's a whole weapon system with, like, a rock, paper, scissors style mechanics of what trumps what. It's all the sort of stuff a typical action RPG would have, just kind of mobile friendly. But then you get to the triple gacha system, because the only way to get those characters and to get those weapons is summoning them. And you can summon them using in-game currency that you accumulate by grinding. You can summon them by buying it with real money. Some of the characters can be unlocked as you go through the game, but much like Fire Emblem Heroes, like identical to Fire Emblem Heroes, they all have star ratings attached to them. So if you want to up your character's star rating, how you do that? Well, a lot of grinding, or what if you just summon a second one? Boom, there you go, instant boost. So it's all very much getting you into that gacha system. You have the character one, the weapon one, and then the third one, independent of those, the third layer is something called Worm Prince, which I think that's how you pronounce it. I don't remember what they said in the direct. I think it's Worm Prince. But basically, these are special unlocks that can boost your character's stats beyond just the game's main grind. So these require their own special currency to summon, of course. And like any good mobile game, on top of all that, you also have time-based elements. So you have a castle where you can build facilities and train your characters and grind them automatically, but you need to pay, again, with either real or fake currency. So, like, the parallels to Fire Emblem are definitely here. Like, it ultimately, in the same way that Fire Emblem Heroes streamlines, like, strategy RPGs, this is doing that for action RPGs, complete with the same structure on top. And it's just weird that Miyamoto's like, yeah, we shouldn't do this, as Nintendo's announcing this. Like, the to Dragalia Lost credit, it has an edge over a lot of mobile games, and that looks very high production. It looks pretty fun. That's something that Fire Emblem Heroes did really well, and it worked well because it wasn't too overbearing with the money-making schemes while still offering the high production and fun. So if Dragalia Lost can mimic that, sure, maybe. So maybe Miyamoto's point can still stand about other games, but it's just kind of this weird back and forth. And I'm kind of curious how Dragalia does, because it's a brand new IP. It doesn't have the brand recognition going for it like Fire Emblem Heroes. Like Fire Emblem Heroes, people bought into it and got hooked on it. It's like, oh, I love Fire Emblem. How do you get someone to triple gacha in a game with characters they haven't recognized and no real emotional attachment to?
I think I'm a big fan of the name. I would have just liked if it was just Dragalia.
Yeah, Lost is kind of a weird extra. But yeah, but it all means the game has to perform on its own merits more than anything else. So this is really the test of free to play for Nintendo, I would argue. And I don't know, kind of, as much as I was talking up how cool some aspects are, it does look pretty generic. It's like typical JRPG. Like, I'll check it out. I'm going to download it. But are you going to download it on Transformers Day, September 27th?
No.
Yeah, that's what I figured. Because, like, it doesn't have the same sort of hook. And also, you don't like RPGs, but that's a whole nother, certain RPGs. Like, you don't really play Fire Emblem. So you didn't get Fire Emblem either, right?
I don't really consider that an RPG.
Strategy RPG, technically.
Yeah.
I should have clarified. I should have said strategy RPG. Actually, yeah, this is more your type. You like action RPGs. This is like kind of Tales-ish, except real time.
Why play anything else on my phone when...
You could play Hearthstone and Smash for the rest of your life.
No, when I don't play anything on my phone.
Oh, that's fair.
I don't want to have any games on my phone.
Right. Also on tablets, just saying. But to quickly...
but why play anything on my tablet when I could play Hearthstone?
I know. To quickly tie this all back to the Miyamoto free-to-play con thing, I feel like you got to practice what you preach. And something like Dragalia Lost is kind of the opposite. Like, a lot of what Miyamoto has been saying is true, and he's obviously entitled to his opinion.
As long as his name isn't in the credits somewhere.
Yeah, that's where it's going to be fine. It was like executive producing Miyamoto. But, like, yeah, I don't know. To discuss, like, Nintendo's... Yeah, to discuss how Nintendo's going to, like, drill paid mobile games into people's heads till they accept them, while simultaneously Nintendo is making bank mostly off the exact free-to-play models he's bashing, just seems strange. I don't know. I mean, maybe Mario Kart Tour, that rumored mobile Zelda game, will have a fixed price. And who knows, maybe Nintendo's going to use its free-to-play games and the money they make from that to kind of subsidize lifting up games that are priced at the front, which they know won't make as much money, and they have to sort of balance the two in order to hit their $1 billion. I don't know. Like, who knows what the strategy is, but it's a weird look for Nintendo and Miyamoto right now. For Nintendo to be like, check this out, and Miyamoto will be like, don't look at that. So... We'll see. I mean, lucky for them, they can get away with mobile being super random and weird right now and doing weird stuff over there because they are killing it on the traditional game side. July NPD, they are killing it. Like, July NPD numbers came out. Good news all around for Nintendo. Really good news for the whole industry. The industry was up 14% July 2018 versus July 2017. But Nintendo, they kind of stole the show. On the hardware side, Switch was the number one system, both in terms of money made and units sold. This marked the first time since December 2017 that Switch generated the most in hardware dollar sales, in case anyone has a Jeopardy question about that in the future. It's also only the 7th month since the Switch came out in March 2017 that it managed to do that goal. So, a little fun fact for it. But more significantly, the thing that actually matters, the best July of hardware unit sales that Nintendo has seen since 2009.
Wow. My favorite part.
You have a phone in here?
Oh, yeah, there's a phone in here now. Well, look at
Weird.
That.
I had no idea there was a phone in here now. Oh, yeah, because you got new internet and it probably came with a phone.
Yeah.
Does your phone read off the phone number for everyone listening to then call and be like, stop calling?
Yeah.
You just let it ring. Let's talk about it.
We'll go on the next internet.
Oh, it does. Oh, it's going to play the message?
Oh, they hung up. That was exciting.
Oh, that was... This is the type of live experience you get on a live show that we're just going to pretend this is.
Yeah.
That was... We need to be aware of that in the future.
That is a first. And yeah,
6.5 years, yeah.
Right.
We've had text messages, we've had emails, we've had people, we've had squeaky doors, we've had music outside, but we have never
had a live caller to call into the episode. The nice thing is that we can mute it, so there's that.
Yes, but anyway, what I was going to say is, you know what the actual... It wasn't a phone call. That was the important sales stat bell that ring. That was like the little jingle that plays when there's an important stat, because... I mean, the last time Nintendo sold this many hardware units in a July was when Wii Sports Resort came out. Like, that was the peak. What is your phone now doing? Well, anyway, that was like the peak of the Wii days.
Please ignore that.
I'm just enjoying this. We're not taking any of this out for the record. This is all staying in. People have to know how the meat is made. They need to know what's in the sausage, not what's in the sausage case. Like, this is that opportunity. You guys think we're professional? We're not. Actually, no one thinks we're professional. I should be fair. How's that going? You know, an easy way to turn off the ringer is to take it off the hook and then just let it, like, kind of act like you're making a phone call and just have it sit there. Like, turn on the phone, just have it sit there. So no one can call in.
Wait, but we also don't want that. Because...
Well, no, go voicemail. They call in and it goes to voicemail. Well, the random of random Nintendo was just fulfilled today.
There's still a phone in the house proper.
Oh, well, those will still ring. It's just this. Yeah. Oh, I don't know, actually.
Yeah.
We'll find out. The random of random Nintendo, ladies and gentlemen. I almost want to be like, and scene. That was all a demonstration of...
In the future, we could just move it to the other room.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. But my point was, Switch is doing great. Like, best since the peak Wii days. Of course, what's driving those sales are the games. Nintendo software sales have been huge in July, and actually since the start of 2018, they've been the top-selling publisher across the entire charts, based on just physical sales, which is what's sort of important about that. Like, that's not eShop downloads, which make up a bigger and bigger part of the Switch. All these stats are about software are strictly physical copies you can get in the store. So in July, Nintendo is actually the only company to see year-over-year software growth, to the tune of 70%, which is nuts. To have your game sell 70% more this year than last year, that's crazy. And at the top of that heap is surprisingly Octopath Traveler. That was the number one game on all platforms in the month of July. And I don't know, to me at least, maybe you feel otherwise, Angel, but to me at least it was surprising to see an old school 2D JRPG be number one in the year 2018.
this is the year that it would make the most sense.
Is it? Why do you think that?
It's the resurgence.
That's what I was thinking too.
Just like how fighting games kind of died off for a while, like around, I want to say 2004 when Street Fighter 4 came out. Like, there were basically no 2D fighters. Like, they kind of died off with Street Fighter 3. No one cared. And then after Street Fighter 4, then you suddenly got Mortal Kombat, and then you got another. Then the Guilty Gear started like hitting back hard, and now you have almost too many. So
yeah,
same thing, but for that,
I think it's partly like I wonder how much of that resurgence is in part due to the nostalgia wave we're going through. Because like if you look at Octopath Traveler's neighbors on the chart in the top 10 alone, you got 3D Mario with Mario Odyssey, you got Zelda with Breath of the Wild, you got Mario Kart, you got Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy back on the chart in the top 10. So it feels like and you know, fighting games were big in the 90s. These JRPG 2D ones were big, like the early Final Fantasy games. When you look at it through that lens and what you're describing with the resurgence, like Octopath is obviously the one that's going to be number one. Right. But we got so entrenched in the recent mindset of what a successful game is that I guess we kind of lost sight that could happen. At least me personally.
They were marketing that game like crazy.
Oh yeah, they were. It's on TV all the time as part of like a Switch sizzle reel. Yeah. But Octopath's actually significant.
Wasn't it there like since the beginning, like when the Switch got
it was one of the very early ones, yeah. I think it was in the January presentation, not the Switch unveil with Karen going to the rooftop party with her Switch. But Octopath's also significant, not just because of how well it's doing on the chart now, but it's keeping that monthly drumbeat of releases going. Although it feels like if I were to say to you, do we have as many cool games coming out in 2018 as we did in 2017 for Switch? Most people would probably say no, it's not comparable. But if you look at what Nintendo's doing, it is exactly the same one major release a month. We had Labo in April. We had Donkey Kong Country Tropical Freeze in May. We had Mario Tennis in June, which went on to be the number one selling game in June. And now in July, we have Octopath, which also is going on to be number one. So I guess August, Monster Hunter, they maybe gave that to Capcom in hopes they'll do well because Monster Hunter Worlds is doing so well. I don't know. But they are keeping that rhythm going. And in September, we have another Labo plus Xenoblade and some other small stuff. Like, they're trying to do that. So it's one of those things that it didn't, like, feel as crystallized as 2017's drumbeat, but now that I'm, like, looking back at the charts and seeing everything, yeah, we kind of had the drumbeat. It's still going. Nintendo's still very successfully doing a game a month, which is cool to see. But no, I also mentioned Crash on there, Crash Bandicoot. That in and of itself is an interesting story, I feel like, because Crash launched a year ago on the PS4, and it just now came to both Xbox and Switch in July, or well, technically late June. But what that means is those two versions alone, Xbox and Switch, ports of a year-old game were enough to propel Crash to number 3 on the chart. A year-old game, number 3, off just like, unless that year-old game is called Grand Theft Auto 5, it's pretty impressive for a game to be on the chart like that. Like Grand Theft Auto, by the way, number 2 in the month of July, it's been on the chart for like 5 straight years. I don't understand how. Like what? I know it has the GTA 5 online elements and all that, but like seriously, Grand Theft Auto is unstoppable. If it doesn't come to Switch, I'm gonna be shocked. But anyway, we don't necessarily know the breakdown of how Crash did on Switch versus Xbox, but we do know that according to NPD analyst Matt Piscatella, I guess is how you say it. He's saying that most Switch third-party games are doing quite well. So I don't think Crash is number 3 on the chart in some sort of weird, it's all due to Xbox scenario. Like, Switch definitely had a hand in it. So it just kind of further pushes the resurgence, nostalgia wave, whatever you want to call it, idea. Actually, Matt from NPD made another interesting comment. E and T rated games, so everyone in teen rated games, are actually up 22% this year. Which kind of gels with the whole like 90s nostalgia thing, I feel like. Like, I bet a lot of Nintendo's success ties into the rise of these games, not necessarily, what's considered a popular game now. It doesn't have to be gritty, violent, only shades of brown and red. Like, Fortnite is the most popular shooter, and it's very colorful and friendly. See that grit in your throat right now? Games don't have to be like that anymore.
That literally is the perfect way to describe that.
Yeah. So, you okay?
Yeah, it's like if Call of Duty went down my throat, basically.
Right, and now we're in a world where 22% up, it'd be like you had a lollipop instead.
Yeah. Exactly.
So, yeah, I think that's also helping Nintendo a lot because their type of games are suddenly in vogue thanks to the resurgence and nostalgia. So that's nice. But that said, there is one July Switch game that seems to be missing in action from this chart entirely. Remember Go Vacation? We talked about it when it was announced and then never again.
Yeah, that it takes some game that's apparently really good and you keep your eye out for it, or it's important in some way, which is why we keep bringing it up.
We only brought it up once, I think, but we're bringing it up again because it's...
Exactly.
Now it's twice. It's nowhere to be found in the top 20. It's nowhere to be found in the Switch-specific top 10. For a Nintendo-published game to not be in Switch's own top 10 is kind of weird. And the reason I brought it up to you when you're sort of poking fun at it, but the reason we talked about it the first time is, at least to me, it felt like this was an experiment for more Wii-style casual fare on Switch. I mean, they released it right at the same time frame that Wii Sports Resort came out in July 2009, the last time Nintendo had a system do this well. And yet, Go Vacation's nowhere to be seen. So perhaps that's a sign that we won't be getting a lot of super casual-friendly stuff. Although, on the flip side, it's only out for a week, and this game seems to be relying more on word of mouth than actual real marketing. So maybe it's too soon to say. I mean, in Europe, apparently it started pretty slow, but then it managed to creep up onto the charts from there. So we'll see if that happens in America. I suspect if it does creep on, it'll be closer to the holidays. Which, actually, the holidays this year are going to be interesting. It's going to be kind of fascinating to watch how they unfold, especially from, a chart perspective.
Why is that?
Well, let me tell you, Angel. Right now, as I mentioned, we got games like Mario Odyssey and Zelda are still in the top 10, a year later. Actually, interestingly, Zelda has better legs than Mario. Zelda was number 5 in July, and Mario was number 7, but Mario's the newer game. So more people are picking up Zelda when they pick up Switches than Mario, essentially. At least currently. Overall, according to Nintendo's numbers, Mario's 2 million ahead, but it looks like Zelda here in the US has more attention. But regardless, it looks like what Nintendo's trying to do is they're making these small moves to keep that momentum going, even as other big games come out, even as other games start to flood the charts. I mean, to be clear, these are small moves. But remember those starter kit versions of games? They made a Breath of the Wild, but then they called it the starter kit and threw a strategy guide in and charged the same $60.
Sounds right.
Yeah, so they're doing that again with Zelda, and they're also rolling out similar starter kits for Mario Odyssey and Splatoon 2. So I don't think it's going to make any diehard fans suddenly double dip unless they're collecting these things. But it does seem like a pretty smart way to keep evergreen status of those games going. Because they can essentially remarket the games as something new. They're not losing money because they're not including DLC. The books are really cheap to print. And then you can still get the people to pay the full price for DLC. They don't have to do a Game of the Year edition. Instead, they're just hey, Best Buy and Target, in your next circular, put new Splatoon 2 starter kit. And then, oh, look, Splatoon 2 is a thing that's suddenly getting a spotlight on it again. So it's a very small thing.
Very sleazy.
A little. But it's, it works, right? They're just putting out some booklets, throwing it in a box, and calling it a day. And, hey, it's going to result in games doing well. At least I assume it will, because if the test with Zelda worked well enough to now do Mario and Splatoon with Zelda, presumably that means it's going to do well. It's just one way to keep the old games going in the holidays. And I think it's kind of a similar mindset to what we're seeing with Mario Kart 8 lately. Because Mario Kart 8, as we discussed a few months ago, gained support, initial support for the motorcycle Toy-Con from Labo. And that gave it kind of a small profile boost. It was back in the news. People that maybe new Switch owners that bought the system for Labo are like, oh, my kid can use that thing he built, that hunk of cardboard I don't know what to do with, in other games. That's cool. I'll buy a Mario Kart. And now, Nintendo announced at Gamescom that they're doubling down and they're going to have support for the upcoming vehicle kit, steering wheel, and pedal, also in Mario Kart. So you can use that and the motorcycle in tandem, and basically it's more uses for more of your cardboard, and you can now play the cardboard with your friends, and it's very much like the starter kit booklets, where it's just it's a little thing that sort of boosts the game just enough to potentially reach out to new people. So it's all little things that I think are just going to keep the evergreen going. Honestly, though, vehicle kit, did you see any of the stuff they showed at Gamescom about the vehicle kit?
Just briefly, but
I think it could be the best-selling Labo. I mean, it is kind of same, but they also, there's a lot more to it. It feels not more to it, but it's more cohesive of a package, I'd say. They showed, little things you can spray paint your vehicle any color you want by holding up a spray can Toy-Con and doing it in front of the screen. And we have stencils, and if you put the Toy-Con facing the stencil, the IR camera will see the shape and correctly, apply it to the car, which is just really cool tech. But beyond that, the way the game plays like an actual game, there's actually challenges and missions and multiplayer modes. There's literally what amounts to a monkey fight mode, if you remember that from Super Monkey Ball, but with your vehicles. So there's like that element to it, but then at the same time, they also seem to have sort of doubled down on the garage, like the Toy-Con garage. It now has a physical side, essentially. You are able to program basically anything you build into a Toy-Con. Like, it's not like before, it's like, oh, these inputs do this. It's literally like, okay, I want to make I guess I worded it wrong. It's more like, I want to make a new steering wheel, and the game will be like, okay, here's how to turn whatever you have into a proper steering wheel. So it's kind of the inverse. And now, so you have both sides of the DIY coin, and you have more gameplay.
So it's kind of like how people, for a simple example, when they want to use like a DDR pad to play Super Mario 64.
I think it's like that, but with other cardboard objects.
Yeah.
Yeah. Essentially, I think. So it just feels like more like a holistic thing, because you got both sides of the DIY, you got actual gameplay, but still some of the freedom to try new things because you have all that DIY. Like, because Variety Kit was great, and that had all these cool, basically tech demos, but there weren't really games behind them. There were some, but they were shallow. And then Robot Kit was great, and that offered, or what was great about Robot Kit from what I've read, I haven't actually played it, is that it offered more of an actual game, but then the kit was kind of crazy. So and it didn't offer the creativity suite, so you couldn't do the stuff with Garage that you could do in Variety Kit. This marries them together pretty perfectly. So I imagine if there were one Labo game that's like the breakthrough kit, I feel like the vehicle kit might be that. We'll see. It also depends on word of mouth, so time will come. Of course, there's also all the usual standard holiday stuff Nintendo's doing. There's a leak from Europe of a Switch hardware bundle coming with Smash in it, which I'm sure everyone knew that was a given. I'm sure it's going to do well.
Yeah, it's a gimme.
Yeah, and then here in the US, they announced that Smash is actually going to come in 2 flavors. We're going to get a standard edition or a special edition, which comes with the Steelbook we talked about last episode, plus a special Smash-themed Pro Controller, all for $140.
But more importantly, are we getting one that comes with a controller and just the case, but with a digital code inside, like in Japan?
No.
I know, of course not.
Of course not. I really wish Nintendo would do the digital code with the case thing, because as everyone knows from the time I've talked about it over and over and over, I like having physical cases, but I don't need the cartridges.
Yeah, the Switch definitely is geared more towards having a digital library. The fact that it's portable, yes, the cartridges are small, but as Jason can tell you, and as someone that tried to play a game with him and ultimately gave up because it was such a pain.
Was this E3 or Comic-Con where this happened?
It was E3.
That's right.
Yeah, because they're like, let's play Mario Kart. Oh, okay, I have the other game inside. Let me take it out. Oh, damn, I dropped some games. It was he was fumbling through, I have too many games.
So, the banner image for this episode...
And then by the time you got it on there, it's oh, I have to do an update. I'm like, oh my god.
The banner image for this episode is that meme of the guy with the limes, holding too many limes and not knowing what to do with them all. That was literally me with the games at E3, just in the middle of a line. And they just fell everywhere, and I'm like, whoa!
And here I am just taking less than 5 seconds to switch between games.
Yeah, so but the problem is, I do like the physical cases, and I'm already so far in on the physical that I feel weird to jump to digital. But if they had a physical case with no cartridge, I would do that. So maybe I should start importing from Japan, is what I'm saying.
That's a thought.
Except all the boxes are in Japanese, so there's that. But yeah, no, what you do get is, like I said, the controller, the Steelbook case, and the game. It's $140. Smash doesn't need this. It's already Amazon's best-selling game of 2018, and it's not even out yet. That's just off pre-orders. It's sold more than any other game this year off pre-orders strictly, which is kind of crazy. But still, it is nice to see that Nintendo's giving a collector's edition to those who want it. They're milking us for it. They're milking the fans. There's no doubt, but they're doing it in a very nice way. Are you... Well, I guess since you're getting digital, you're not going to get the kit or the thing, are you?
I'm just going to get the control separately. But
for the standard 70 whatever?
Yeah.
That's it? What do you think of that controller?
It's very bland.
Yeah, I'm not the biggest fan of the design.
It's very boring. It's funny because, if you get rid of the Smash logo, I don't know, it's weird. I don't like the blinding white with just the black for some reason.
Yeah.
But, I don't know, it's... I don't want to say it's growing on me, but it's I'm getting used to it, that I'm like, that's fine.
I will say when Nintendo of Europe put out that sizzle reel of footage, it's a little better.
Yeah, there is a picture. I'm sure in person it'll probably look better. It just always does. That goes for every piece of technology I've ever felt weird about. But there was a picture of from a slightly different angle that made me go all right, it looks a little nicer, but I'm sure it'll look fine in person.
I think what bothers me...
I think what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to unscrew the white bits and put them on my current Pro controller, So that Pro Controller with the Smash Bros. Logo is all black, but with the white Smash logo.
That's what I was going to say.
And then I just have a regular Pro Controller with just the white, which I feel would look a lot better for some reason.
That's what I was going to say. I think you can only do a two-tone controller if you let the two tones be there in full. Putting the white Smash logo right next to the white grip on the side is like, well, it's not two-tone. Now you just have like a weird white extension or splotch.
Like the Splatoon one works because you have like green and pink all throughout the controller. And the
Xenoblade
one, the red X is like a little... It's not as blatant. Like the Smash logo just takes up too much space.
It takes up too much space that it's not a two-tone controller.
If it was just like a tiny logo in the middle like it is for the GameCube controller, that would probably look nicer and more like pristine. But
I agree.
As is, it looks like two different people designed it.
It looks like the grips in the center were made by different people and then they smashed them together. But I don't know if I'm getting it either. Like, I'm not a fan of the design.
I mean, I need a second Pro Controller just because I'm ultimately going to be playing like 2-player a lot with Elvis and some friends.
Right.
And hopefully it doesn't make sense to, and it doesn't and it doesn't make sense to have two identical Pro Controllers. It would just be easy to tell them apart. Mm-hmm. And of course, I have to get the Smash one if I'm going to get any of them. So
but yeah, it's just
what I'm stuck with.
Yeah, I feel like I haven't even.
I guess the Bowser one, but I mean,
it broke and it's not official.
Yeah,
it's Power A. Not Nintendo.
Yeah, it's
licensed, but not
Nintendo. It's a fishy license, but yeah. Best design, really good design. I really like how it looks. But
well, it's Bowser. You could put Bowser on like a trash heap and you'd like it.
No, I mean I just like the matte finish to it.
That's what you mean.
I like that it has a shiny, glossy D-pad.
Yeah,
it just feels comfy. But yeah, I had to just die after the warranty. How
That's
convenient.
A bummer. Yeah, how convenient. But
at least it was super cheap, so it almost feels like you get what you pay for. So.
You know what's weird?
It shouldn't, but yeah.
You know what's weird? This Purgatory Talk made me realize I host a Nintendo podcast with you, and I'm a diehard Nintendo fan. I've never owned a Pro Controller on any of the Nintendo systems. I had a classic controller on the Wii, but I never got the Wii's Pro Controller. I never got the Switch's Pro Controller. I've only played Smash Ultimate.
The Classic Controller Pro?
Not even the Classic Controller Pro.
That was a fun controller.
I've only played Ultimate using the Pro Controller when we've demoed it. I have no idea if I'll even like it with Joy-Cons. I imagine maybe not because the sticks travel distance is so much smaller. But yeah, because I was like, oh yeah, I saw this. I'm like, no, I'm not getting a Pro Controller bundle. I don't need a Pro Controller. It's fine. Also, I don't like the design, but I don't need a Pro Controller. And now I'm sitting here like, I might need a Pro Controller. I have no idea what Smash is like with a Joy-Con. Nintendo's not demoing that at all.
Yeah. Also, just for proper housekeeping, I'd probably just get a Pro Controller so you don't damage your Joy-Cons.
Yeah.
Smash is a pretty aggressive game on the controllers.
That's true. And the Joy-Cons seem way more fragile because they're so much smaller. Like, the components have less give and everything.
I wouldn't want to put that kind of stress, make them run through that stress test too much.
Yeah, so maybe I will get Pro Controller. But if I do, I'm doing the solid
then again, I mean, for you, it might be fine.
Because I can just come here and play it using your controllers.
No, I just meant, I can't see you getting too aggressive with it.
Oh, no, I don't.
It'd be like, I'd rather give Elvis a Pro Controller, and if we have, if we're playing, 8-player Smash, I don't even know if that's going to be a thing.
It is.
But
it's still there.
If we're going to play that, I wouldn't feel bad giving someone the dual Joy-Cons because the average person that just plays casually isn't going to be as aggressive on them.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's only the people that are trying to do all those specific inputs to do a combo or something,
and specific angles and all that. Yeah, but yeah, even if I get a Pro Controller, I'm totally content with the standard edition. The Steelbook case is fine, but I don't need the controller. And I'm even more content because Best Buy just announced that if you pre-order either edition there, you actually get a little piece of swag in the form of a silver Smash Bros. Coin that they're giving with every single pre-order, even retroactively. So I'm still getting a little swag, a little bit of extra.
So I don't need the whole set. I saw the coin, and I was like, you know what? I think I'm okay not getting a coin.
I like it. I like that's not gold, like the last one was. I kind of like that's not tungsten, but whatever that is.
I don't know.
It's the same material that wedding band.
I kind of wish all the coins were uniform, so you could have we have the Luigi coin, the Zelda coin, the Smash Bros. Coin, the Mario Odyssey coin, and they're all golden and uniform, and then you have this other one that's not even the same thickness. It's
yeah, the thickness thing, and I think the size is different. This is 1.5 inches diameter.
Yeah, it's it would look weird in a collection that you're trying to build. Here are all my US coins, and here's this oblong one. That's
the only weird thing is I don't know what they would have done with the coin if they made it the same size and shape, because the other coin is the logo on one side and the emblem on the other. There's not much you can do with that. I mean, it would be the same except it's a Ultimate instead of Wii U 3DS, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know. They could maybe do some slight variants to the emblem. Maybe make it look a little bit on fire or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, well, yeah, they could have done that. But that would have been tricky because it's round and then you have to do the flames.
They'll figure it out.
Yeah, they'll figure it out. But besides Smash and all that, I'm also kind of curious to see, like we talked a lot about Switch, but what's up with 3DS? Like, how's that going to do this holiday? Because in July, it basically was a non-existent system. Some leaked, not confirmed, NPD numbers say that the 3DS sold as low as 86,000 units over the month, which is pretty low. Like, for comparison, the Switch apparently sold over 250,000. And obviously the Switch is the new hotness. I get that. But yeah, it's still kind of sad for 3DS. And then you even have like WarioWare Gold, which technically came out in August. It came out with 1 day of tracking left in the July sales chart for MPD. And based on that whopping 1 day of sales, it couldn't outsell the 9-month-old Pokemon Ultra Sun and Moon. Now granted, you're talking about a game that has a full month of sales versus a day of sales, but you would think if it was a high profile game, maybe you come in at number 1 on a system that's barely selling and its games are all old. I don't know. But no, off that 1 day, it's not the fairest comparison. We'll have to wait till next month to really see. But it's not the strongest start for WarioWare. So I'm kind of curious to see, with a system that's not really selling all that well and the games that are kind of not taking off like a rocket, what's going to happen in the months ahead. And one thing they're doing is they're essentially giving the new 2DS XL a permanent price drop. On September 28th, they're going to start bundling Mario Kart 7 as a download with every 2DS XL sold in every color. So instead of being $150 for the system alone, it's now a system at $120 with a $30 game, all being sold under $150. So you could, that is essentially a price drop. But along with that, they're also introducing a new purple 2DS XL in the weeks before Luigi's Mansion's launch, which I don't know if that's some sort of low-key GameCube nod going on, like if that's some sort of subtle marketing where they're hoping like, oh, purple 2DS, Luigi's Mansion, I'm going to have to buy both because I love GameCube. But whatever it is, it's not going to set the charts on fire, but it is kind of a funny 1-2 punch they're doing. But in all seriousness, I do think Luigi's Mansion might have that's a good test of how things are going to go because Luigi's a high-profile guy. He's pretty well known. Many mourned his death after the Direct, so that's a test. And any console SKU adjustment usually moves units anyway. So what they're doing with the 2DS, what they're doing with Luigi, September and October's charts should be interesting for 3DS, and especially November and December when they'll probably do their Black Friday deals, and obviously that's when the budget systems really shine. So it'll be an interesting few months for Nintendo. Switch, 3DS, the works, all of it. But that's about it for the sales and business talk, or biz talk, as no one says, actually. But to bring us full circle back to indies, Angel and I have both been playing a fun title called Treadnauts, and I should rephrase it. And if you own it and played it, and I have come over for multiplayer a few times and played it.
And if you've listened to our description of some of the other quick pick up and play single screen party games, then you pretty much already know what to expect.
I mean, to be fair, it
as I said, you pretty much know
yeah. So do you want to elaborate on it a little?
Yeah. So I mean, to separate, you have up to 4 people on one screen trying to kill each other. 1-hit kills. So that's pretty much the premise of it. But obviously the controls in each of these kind of games is what's supposed to separate it. And it does kind of have a pixely look to it, so yeah.
It kind of reminded me of Runbow for some reason in the color scheme. I don't know why.
It is bright colors.
Yeah.
But
maybe that's why.
But the art is pretty, so I mean that is nice. It's not like trying to look like an NES game. It's like trying to look like somewhere between like a Super Nintendo and an N64 as far as its pixel fidelity. But what sets this game apart is that everyone is controlling a tank. Doesn't matter what tank you control, they all control the same. But holding down one of the shoulder buttons raises your turret, and the longer you hold it, the higher it goes up. If you hold it up all the way, you'll shoot straight up. But you have to time when you let go so that you actually lob the ball over. So aiming is really just alright, do I tap quickly? Do I hold it for a little bit longer and then let go? And that also increases the power. So if you hold it for about a couple seconds so that it's a 50, 60 degree angle, it's pretty much going to make it all the way across the screen. Mm-hmm. On top of that, you have a jump button. And what's interesting is that if you jump straight up and shoot, that's normal. You'll shoot and the ball will go in that direction. But if you jump forward or backwards, you actually spin 360 degrees. And if you fire while spinning around, you're essentially firing affects your trajectory and pushes you in whatever direction opposite of where you shoot, as it should that's just how physics work.
Right.
So if you happen to fire while your turret is pointing straight down, you will essentially fly. And you could potentially stay in the air as long as you keep lobbing, like firing balls in the proper angle, which is pretty cool. It's essentially like giving you like a ton of mobility options. And the last on top of that, if you hold the left shoulder button, or just whichever one isn't the right one, or whichever one doesn't fire, you essentially make your tire slippery, and it stops you from moving. But if you fire in any direction, you will slide along the ground in the opposite direction. So it's the same as moving around in the air, but on the ground.
Right.
But what makes this interesting is that you move really fast, and if walls have a curved, if there's like a curve on the corner of a wall, so that you can essentially drive up the wall, you will slide all the way up and just like kind of go really fast around the stage. And this game, you can stick to walls, so if there isn't a curvy, I guess, corner that lets you just smoothly drive up the wall, you can just jump onto the wall. And yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. Like,
in layman's terms, how I would describe this game if someone were to ask me, like, that's all the mechanics in it.
It's like 2D Mario Galaxy, I guess.
No, I would describe it as it's real-time Worms meets 2D Rocket League. The wall mechanics, like the way you climb around the walls, remind me a lot of Rocket League. But
the walls in Rocket League, like, you're only stuck there while you have momentum.
That's true.
You're stuck in these...
This you can stay. So yeah, it is more like Galaxy.
So yeah,
it's real-time Worms meets 2D Galaxy.
And the reason I would also say Galaxy is because a lot of stages have platforms that you can literally drive around like 360 degrees. Yeah. Like, it's literally like Galaxy.
Right. But all the mechanics you're describing with the angle and the precision of shooting and all that is basically like, it's literally Worms, but you don't take turns.
Yeah, and because
it's all really fast.
Yeah, so I mean, to just use another comparison, it's TowerFall with tanks. Because that's literally another one-shot kill, but you're, instead of a tank and being kind of a little slow, you're jumping around and bouncing off walls. But this one, you're flying around with a tank and sliding up walls. So it's really fun. It's like, if you need another couch party game, then I would definitely recommend it. But
there's also about 37 others in this episode you can check out.
There's a ton of really good ones to pick from, so I guess you can't really go wrong.
Yeah, it is.
It's another one you can't go wrong with.
It is fun because, like, we played Treadnauts, I think, before the influx of this exact genre in the last couple of weeks. Like, we played it.
It just slipped by. Honestly, like, if I hadn't caught it in that like brief moment where I saw like a few gameplay demos of it and just heard the name, I'm like, Treadnaught. That's what is that? Yeah. Is it like an astronaut or like? Oh, it's like I don't know where they.
Wait, no, you literally are, because there's no gravity. You're an astronaut in a tank in space. That's the whole. That's it.
Are you in space?
I assume so, if there's no gravity.
I mean, you're in planets that have grass and stuff, so... but I guess you still explore... I mean, I guess gravity's weird. I don't know. Yeah. But yeah, that's Treadnauts. I'd recommend it. I want to say it's at least $10.
It is exactly $10. I looked it up.
All right.
Then. Now, here's a question, though. So, everything about it's multiplayer, right? But what... Is there any single player at all?
It's a tutorial.
That's it?
Yeah.
See, that's the one problem with some of these games, honestly. It's like, it's great as a party game, but what are you doing when there's no party?
Well, you just don't play it.
Because I assume there's no online either. Because I only played multiplayer with you. So
yeah, I wouldn't plan on playing it. I mean, I'm happy that it's only local multiplayer. That's literally what I just bought it for. So
yeah,
if it doesn't have a campaign, that's fine. There's plenty of other games I could waste my time on, I guess.
Right.
Yeah.
But, yeah, I mean, and at that price, given the quality, because there's a lot of levels that you're going through.
Oh yeah, it's easily a game like your group can spend like a couple hours on, like literally.
Right.
Yeah. Easy drinking game too, so
yeah. Right. We played it as a drinking game last time I was here. Yeah, but anyway, I think with that we're all indied out, right? We've talked about
too many.
Yeah, there's so many indies. Yeah, we're indied out, we're talked out, but we'll be back in 2 weeks' time on September 16th, and in that episode, I can already tell there's gonna be even more indies, but more of the indie game impressions and less of the news, because we have a whole healthy heaping of them that we're just. They're just going to start playing, basically. So to make sure you don't miss that episode, you can subscribe and follow to us and follow as always. We're on every platform you can think of: Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, YouTube, Stitcher, TuneIn, etc., etc. And on Twitter, you can find us at Ram Nintendo. You can also follow us individually on social media. I am JSR7. Angel is Wero, WERO_O. And don't forget, of course, we now have a YouTube channel where these are uploaded as well at Random Nintendo.com. So that just about does it. We managed to marathon through probably we didn't talk about 40, but we went over the stretch of 45 different indie games in an hour and 50 minutes or so. That's not bad. So the indie Onslaught is finally over for now. It'll probably pick right back up in 2 weeks, but This is your break. This is your moment to absorb the games and pick the ones you want, and we will see you guys in 2 weeks' time.
Bye.